Camera's rolling.
Baby, I'm too young to know any better, but I guess I'm just too old to care. I'm waiting on the morning light to clear the air. Now the sky is hung with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you created. The one that you hated. Now the sky is hung with regret, letting go that you pay flags. All the silence that keep me coming back. I'm the one that you hated. You know, the one you didn't want to believe. The one that you hated. Take a look at it now. I'm the mess you.
What is going on, everybody? What's up, Dwayne?
What's going on, man? It feels so weird and all
Yeah,
new and been a while.
it's definitely been a while, guys. We got a lot of important stuff coming up today, and over the next couple weeks, I've been on a little hiatus. I've been taking care of the family and doing some other things, but probably the most important case to me since I've been doing Dad Talk is coming up. You know, and it's sad. It's taken us 2.5 years to get to this point, but it's finally here.
Yeah.
Better late than never. But as Martin Luther King says, justice delayed is justice denied. And we waited 2.5 years to see the trial of John Mast coming up. For those of you that are not aware, the trial for the alleged murderer of John Mast, I have to watch my mouth.
Yeah. Give it a week.
Taking place next week. Yep. I did file the paperwork. We will be able to live stream that case, guys. So I'm going to be bringing it to you live on Dad Talk next Tuesday till the following Tuesday. It might end sooner. If it goes later, I'll change my plane tickets and we'll just keep it rolling. But I'm planning on bringing you that whole entire case because I think so many people, Dwayne, can relate to that case. I'm sure there's several elements of John's story that hit close to home to you as well as me.
Yeah, it spoke to everybody. You know, and you and John became buddies. Kind of that was a story on its own. How it all kind of came together. I mean, he was just a mild mannered guy in the background, watching the show, listening, taking the information in, and just kind of over time, you guys developed a friendship.
Yeah, he wasn't the most vocal of a guy. I know he posted a lot about his case and advocacy. Mm-hmm. Every once in a while, I get a message from him, and it was always words of encouragement. It was never I need this or I need that.
Right.
Like, hey man, I'm watching you. Thank you so much. It's helped me. Been worried about you. And he was different, man. One of the more probably the most unbelievable case that I've seen. You couldn't have made accusations towards a more unbelievable father. John, guys, in November of 2020, I had been going at a couple of years at that point, and I did a Thanksgiving special where parents come on and tell a little bit about their story. If you follow Dad Talk for a while, you've seen that's, what we typically do. Yeah. John was the first one to sign up, and I pre-recorded that show because I was planning on being with my family on Thanksgiving, but I was going to have it play on Thanksgiving. John came on and told his story, and I did something I never do, Dwayne. Something just hit me, and it's kind of eerie looking back at it. I stopped the recording that day, and I said, John, hold on. I pulled John on the screen like I got you right now, and I was like, hey, man, just wanted to sit here and talk to you for a while. And we sat there and talked, and it was, like I said, it's a little crazy because at that point, it sounded like John's case was about over, and he was going to be able to see his kids again. He told me he'd been through the family court nightmare, the sexual allegations, physical allegations, but he had beat them. He was exonerated. And he would be finding out any time now when he was going to get to see his kids. Crazy thing about that, he was exonerated earlier that year.
Right.
And didn't find out until the beginning of next year when he was going to be able to see his kids. They made him wait even longer after proving his innocence to see his own kids, man.
It was like punishing him for being exonerated of all the nonsense he was put through.
Yeah. And then, you know, it was just a couple of months later, dude, wake up in the middle of the night and check my phone when I went to go to the bathroom and saw his sister had wrote me saying that he had gotten killed when he went to go pick up his kids. And it was just, dude, I started screaming in the middle of my house. It's like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I didn't know John personally, like, you know, in real life, it's just what we had made, but I connected with the guy over this story.
Yeah.
And knowing that he had came to us to help get his story out, you know, since his death, we haven't stopped getting his story out. We're going to continue to get his story out. And that's going to be a continuation of that next week. I will forever tell John's story.
Yeah. There was that hashtag, was it justice for
I Stand with John.
I Stand with John. There we go. From the documentary that, I mean, at least once an episode gets put out there and you mention it to everybody. I mean, I got a chance to, when we had a murder down here, I got to meet his father, Robert, you know, when we were there. And I mean, it give a little, I guess, backstory. And you can obviously offer a lot more information than I can, but the family is ex-Amish, I think is the proper way of saying it. And to meet these people, I mean, well, Robert, I mean, I'm just kind of representing the entire family, the nicest, calmest guy you would ever meet. When that murder happened down here, I mean, there wasn't conversation. He just said, ticket, gone, there. I mean,
he got on a plane in Idaho, came to
Dallas, Arlington area, and and then, you know, supported that grandmother that was you know, doing all that. And I mean, just the entire family's been so giving. I mean, you have the Mast Foundation. They started as a result of what happened to their son. But yeah, just the salt. I say it tongue and salt of the earth kind of guy. I mean, and I'm assuming his son was a spitting image of, you know, a father raising his son the right way. And I'm looking forward to justice being served.
I am too, man. You know, when John's case first happened and we started the hashtag, the I Stand with John, and that was just something that came straight out. The reason that hashtag came to me is I knew that John going through the silver bullet, what he was going to be up against in that case, and still is now, guys. The second that you get accused of physical or sexual violence, unfortunately, we're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty in this country. Most of the time, you're going to be guilty until proven innocent. And I knew if that got into the media, that people were going to instantly try to side with his grandfather because they didn't know John proved it was BS. Right. So I immediately reached out to the media, and that was where the I Stand with John came from. I stand with this guy that they're going to try to paint as this right here. Let's get his real story out. Wait a minute. A lot of the media was really good. There was one news organization up there still I'm not too keen on. They choose their words wisely and don't get the whole story out there. They just a couple days ago said criminal charges were never filed against Mast. What they should have said is they tried to file charges against John and he proved they weren't true. Right. But it's just in the wording. And so people will automatically think they're taking up for this guy that was protecting these grandkids. No, John was. There's things I can't talk about on here, but I will tell you, I've been in the footsteps of John. I've had conversations with many people who were dealing with John back then. I don't know how the guy did it, Dwayne. I mean, at that point in time, living in North Dakota, driving to Williston, Idaho, like 17 hours away to see his kid an hour. Sometimes he would get blocked and then have to drive that 17 hours back. And that's actually working a full weekend. I mean, a full week. And I think he was working 2 jobs, man.
Yeah, trying to take care of the legal fees and all that.
Yeah, man.
I don't know how he did it in the face of what he had dealt with and what he was dealing with, because again, he hadn't seen his kids for a period of time, quite a period of time, and we have to dance around some of this. Let's just say, you know, when you haven't been around your kids and your kids haven't been around you, maybe feelings change and he had to deal with those emotions. But I mean, from what you've said and what I've experienced with his dad, I mean, he did it better man than I could have been. I don't know how he did it. I mean, we talked about this off air. I mean, that's no, oh, we're trying to dramatize it for the show. I don't know how he did it. I couldn't have. There's no way. What he was faced with, what he dealt with on a daily basis, not seeing his kids, what he was accused. I mean, all that. I don't know how he got up in the morning.
A regular divorce in family law case is stressful enough. Now you put on those allegations and all that on top of it, the distance and some of the other details. There was one time I know he drove all the way over there, and because his kid came and jumped in his lap, he was happy to see dad. They locked the place down and called the police, and they told John he had to leave, and he's like, I'm not leaving. I drove here to see my kid, but because his kid was happy to see dad, that was what went on.
That was enough, right?
Shame on that place, man. I mean, you get a watch from the mouth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the documentary that you did, and if you haven't seen it,
we're about to watch it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't want to spoil the surprise. We're gonna watch it, and if people in the comment section have a question about it, or want to get more details, and if Eric can answer those, obviously he will. And then of course, if we come up with something we hadn't seen or thought of, we'll bring it up. But yeah, I don't know. Let's say, Eric, take that away. I mean, this is, if you haven't watched the documentary, this is one that Eric put together. Doing interviews, and it was for the budget, especially doing a little video on my own. I'm like, how did you pull off some of those shots, and how did you put that together? I mean, I've heard some of the story on what you guys did. It was something like 3 months of nonstop video editing
on this with the same program that we're using right now. Me and Robert, like night and day, 8 a.m. till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every night, putting that together. It was our first documentary. We didn't have the budget. I mean, when it happened, we had 2 or 3 days to raise the money to go from Georgia, Alabama, and Texas all the way up to Spokane, Washington, and drive all the way over to North Dakota for that funeral.
And it wasn't summertime either.
No.
That Georgia boy couldn't handle that.
It was like minus 30, dude, up in there. And like, I had never experienced anything like it, but we did it. We drove the whole top of the United States, pulled it off. The interviews that you'll see of the family in here, guys, we're in the back room of the funeral home with John's body in the next room. Like, that's how fast it took place. We didn't have time to write a script or anything. So is there things I wish I could have done better in there? Absolutely. Didn't have the budget, didn't have the time, but I was proud of it. One of the harder challenges you'll see in the beginning was trying to find out how to start it, because I wanted people to know who John was, not just go straight into the tragedy. This is who he was. This is what he went through. With him being Amish, we didn't have anything to use from his childhood, dude.
Right. Yeah.
It was like 25, 26 years of, we're going to try to tell you a little bit about his life without anything to help you along the way. Use your imagination.
Well, I think there was a little special guidance on that video when you look at it and what you guys were able to put together and really show who John was before, during, and then, some of the aftermath of what happened. I think there was a guiding hand, not a big, thing, in that area, but it I would say it was more than coincidence that you guys did the kind of job that you did on it with what little you had to work with. And that's my statement on that.
World, dude, is such a hard one, because here it is. I'd had those conversations with John. I had his last words on film, but where I told you I pulled him back up on the screen and started talking to him, I forgot about that. I didn't think that was on video. Wow. So when I went and pulled that Thanksgiving show and was editing it into the documentary, it was early in the morning, like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning one night. And I was sitting there thinking, like, John, I'm trying to tell your story, but like, help me, like, where do I go? What do I do? Next thing I know, I'm pulling that video in and there's John on the screen, me and him having a conversation. Dude, I started crying my eyes out. And I was like, dude, I promise you, I will give you everything I got. And I can tell you to this moment right here, I have.
Oh, yeah.
We have, but it was it was kind of like an affirmation that I'm here. I see what you're doing. And I said back then we were standing with you. We're still standing with you. We'll stand with you next week. And guys, when this one happens, I'm not going to speak on it much, but there will be a wrongful death trial. Next week will be the trial against Jim Brashear. The ex-father-in-law that shot John at Rosauers next year goes into the wrongful death lawsuit against the ex-wife.
Yep.
So we got a lot of work to do, and I have a very little frame of time to let you guys know all of this is going on. Again, I've been taking care of my family. My wife just had surgery, so I would beg you, help me get the word out about this. We're a slave to algorithms, and it only let whoever it will let see it. And so I could use the help of the community to share this as much as you can, because I got people coming from all over the country to make sure that that happens next week. And I appreciate every single one of them. I appreciate you, Dwayne, for being on here and doing the work that you've been doing, to all of the guys that have been holding down the support group. That's what this is. I've met some amazing people doing this advocacy stuff, and John was one of them. So we got to keep his memory alive, guys.
Yeah.
And, if you got some questions during the documentary, put it down there in the comments. I'll pause it and we'll come back on and talk about it. I told Dwayne to do the same thing. But once I start playing this, I'll pull us off the screen and just put the questions down there. And if I see it, that's what we'll do. Did you want to say something before we get into it, man?
I want to give some props to somebody here real quick. Let's see if I make sure to click on the right thing here. Julie.
Yeah.
This woman.
For every show, bro.
I know. Well, when I talk about it, gets mentioned at least once. It's still, I stand with John. I stand with John.
There we go.
Julie, she is the one that does it. So thank you, Julie, for just keeping this going. Because, we get crazy. We're, screen doing this and doing that. And I don't want to say we forget, but we're old. We forget stuff. So I just want to kind of give a shout out there to Julie there for always doing that. And also we put it back up there. And if this is another thing that gets that algorithm going, is that
Absolutely.
I stand with John, that gets it out there. And of course, if you are able to do stars or points or whatever they're calling it nowadays, obviously
don't worry about that right now. Not on my end of the stars, but I will tell you this, there's a lot of efforts that are going out. If you guys would like to support this trial and the people that are going to do this, if you go to johnmastfoundation.org, you can donate through there, and that's John's family. They put together that foundation. There hasn't been much going on over there, guys, because it's just hard. If you don't have resources, you don't have money, you're limited to what you can do. And the fact that John's case just kept getting pushed back out, it's hard to keep that story out there. I mean, what was it, a year and a half ago or a year ago that the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and that was one of the biggest ones ever? It's crickets now until Netflix your special. It's hard to keep these stories out there. But hashtag I stand with the John in the comments. Please share as much as you can. Get in there and comment. That definitely helps the algorithm. And the other thing that meant a lot to John, it's kind of symbolic if you'd like to do it in the comments. John kept a candle in his window, and he said that was his sign to his kids that he would never stop fighting for them. And when he died, that candle was still lit in his apartment, and you'll see that in the documentary. So if you want to put some candles down there, that would be amazing, man. But I guess with that being said, let's get into this, bro. I haven't seen this. I haven't watched it in a while. I haven't seen this in probably at least a year and a half, 2 years. I watched it a couple of times after it came out, and it's hard. One, I hate seeing myself on camera, but no,
you got blood, sweat, and tears, and then of course the subject matter. You guys became friends. This is not a story. This is a guy you knew.
Well, yeah, you feel a sense of responsibility,
right?
And there's been many times when that case would get pushed back. You feel like you fail. But it's coming next week. I have a good feeling about next week, but we got a lot of work to do. This is when it matters the most. I'm glad his story got out there originally. This is when it matters the most. So tonight, let's remember John. And then, like I said, you guys got any questions, bring them up, and we'll make it happen. All right, let me add the stream here. Put us on the bottom right. Once it starts, I'm going to pull me and you off, Dwayne.
All right.
Here we go. At this time, I'd like to bring our first guest on the show. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. So no, I haven't gotten to see my kids.
I want to be clear, there is no truth to this story. That's how Bieber is responding to allegations made against him.
And I watched you lie, and then
I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap, but I was hitting you. I was not punching you.
Don King was there for Mike Tyson's most important fight. Not in the ring, but in Judge Patricia Gifford's courtroom.
It was the most horrible time of my life. It was the most heinous day of my life because I go into prison, I lost my humanity. I lost my reputation. I lost everything that I worked so hard.
An allegation of sexual assault is being made against actor Jeremy Piven. Piven has unequivocally denied those allegations.
This alleged rape thing that was hanging over your head. What happened with that, though?
We all knew it was lies from the beginning.
Nick Carter still facing those allegations from Melissa Schumann.
We've all heard the story where these movie stars and these actors are accused of rape, sexual harassment, physical abuse, and it goes on and on and on. This is something that happens every day inside of Hollywood. But what about the normal mom and dad, the normal people out there? Do they experience these false allegations as well? According to the U.S. Census Bureau, from a study done in 2014, about 5 of every 6 custodial parents were mothers. That equals up to 82.5%. And 1 of every 6 were fathers at 17.5%. Proportions were not that statistically different from those 20 years prior in 1994. On December 17, 2020, there was a survey conducted by YouGov that revealed 8% of Americans report falsely being accused of domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, or other forms of abuse. This 8% figure represents 20.4 million adults. In 62% of those cases, the false accusers were reported to be females. Often, the false allegations was made in context of a child custody dispute. My name is Eric Carroll, and I am the host of Dad Talk Today. I started Dad Talk Today in the fall of 2019 in an attempt to raise awareness as to what fathers were facing in family court. I started putting out posts promoting the show and when it was going to kick off. Much to my surprise, by the time we did the first episode, we had gained 10,000 followers. I knew then I was onto something bigger than I had imagined. The first episode was on parental alienation, and at the time, I had planned on talking about several different topics. My next guest was a former guest on Joe Rogan and had nothing to do with family court, just a topic that I cared about. Following that episode, I started getting messages asking me why I wasn't talking about family court or parental alienation. While at first this upset me, I did my research and found these guys had nowhere to turn that was covering these issues. That topic was the reason I started this show. I just didn't know if it would have a big enough audience to carry it. I was wrong. That was the day I decided to expose family court for what it was and found my direction. Our main focus was on parental alienation and raising awareness as to what this is. When I first started, I thought maybe alienation was a rare occurrence. I was shocked to find out just how many people were experiencing this. Parental alienation is when one parent brainwashes the child and or children. Most of the time, this will be the custodial parent that will convince the child to not want anything to do with the other parent. This could be through lies. It could be by making them feel threatened to be with the other parent, or just completely denying the parent time with the child altogether. The way family court is set up often protects the alienating parent in doing so. It can be extremely hard to prove parental alienation is happening in court, although people who are educated on the subject can see it a mile away. Even the term parental alienation alone is frowned upon inside a family court. Family court makes more money than all of the other courts combined. It hides behind what is known as the best interest of the child standard, but seems most to be the best interest of their wallet. Over the years, many incentives have come along that give resources, mainly to single mothers, which in return, I believe, incentivizes fatherlessness. Title 4D is just one of these incentives. It was made after no-fault divorce came to law to offset the cost of how many parents were getting assistance from the government. Another is Section 8. Often the custodial parent will be better off financially without the father in the home. False allegations was a topic I was not exactly aware of when I started this. No one wants to think of a parent abusing a child either physically or sexually, and just the mere thought of it can drive someone crazy. For the longest time, I would go in the other direction when a parent told me they had experienced these types of false allegations. I could never forgive myself if I found out I was talking to someone who had actually done this. But then I started learning more on how many lawyers encourage this in family court because it automatically gives the accuser the upper hand. If I was in that situation, I would want someone to help me. The nickname for this amongst many people in the community is the silver bullet. It is the one thing someone can use that will give them the upper hand. It can be almost impossible sometimes for these parents to fight off these allegations, and in this country, we are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. The minute someone is accused of such acts, they are looked at as guilty until proven innocent. Afterwards, even if they can prove their innocence, their reputation will never be the same. In the past year alone, we have traveled to 42 states, attending many political conferences and capitals across the country. Our team has interviewed hundreds of legislators and educated them on these issues in hopes of getting legislation that makes a level playing field for parents that could be with equal shared parenting and consequences for false allegation. Our show is ran on a weekly basis. During the holidays, I will occasionally run marathons for alienated parents where they can come on the show and talk to us to help keep their mind off of not being able to see their kids. Thanksgiving 2020, there was someone that reached out to me that I had spoke to before. He let me know he was a follower of the show and supported us. He was also the first one of many to sign up for the holiday marathon to talk about his battle with family court. This father's name was John Mast. When I brought him onto the show, I knew he was in litigation. I told him not to say his full name and not to mention his kids' names. I would also not bring him on video, so he was free to talk to me without worrying about anything being used against him. John chronicled his experience on the show that day and told me what it had been like for him. After we got through, I turned the video off and brought him back on for a one-on-one conversation with me. John had been experiencing alienation for the past 3 years. He had fought off false allegations of sexual and physical abuse toward his kids and the mother. Around 6 months prior to that, John had been exonerated of all the charges, and he had proved his innocence. At the time he was on Thanksgiving, he had not been given a time of when he was going to be able to see his kids. There was an upcoming order where this was to change, and he was hopeful. This is the story of John Mast. John Allen Mast was born on November 5th, 1980, to Robert and Sarah Mast. He was the 8th child of what eventually became a family of 11 children. This size family was not uncommon among the Amish, which is what the Mast family was until 2004. John grew up on a dairy farm where caring for the animals was a shared, consistent responsibility. The Amish lifestyle instilled in John a love for peace and a tendency to forgive rather than hold a grudge, as well as loyalty to what he believed in. As a young teenager, the family moved to Montana, where the vast outdoors was enjoyed by John. There, he also became a skilled metal worker, manufacturing band sawmills. John was well known for being gentle and exceptionally quiet. When he spoke, it was worth listening to. He thrived in thinking unconventionally, analyzing the opposite side of accepted norms. He was a great role model to his nieces and nephews. I traveled to Libby, Montana, where I met up with the family of John Mast. I've never met such a beautiful family in my life.
John, we've all recognized him as rather the quiet personality. He won't be the noisy one, but when he talks, he's thought things through. He'll say it like it is. Great character.
John's a quiet person. We do anything for anyone.
Best brother you could ask for. We grew up close, gentle, such a big heart. Quiet spoken, not a man of a lot of words, but when he did speak, he carried some weight.
Very independent, and he had this great way of always looking out for the people around him, and probably looking out for, like if somebody was being bullied or being picked on, he was the first person to step up and say, you know, I'll be your friend, that kind of person.
He looks sad. He's the kind of person that could look you straight in the eyes, deadpan, no facial expression, no tone of voice, say the most hilarious things. When I first met him, I wasn't quite sure how to take him. He was level-headed and the most drama-free member of our fire department.
He's like 7 years, 8 years younger than me, so just always just a solid guy. John was a quiet guy. As quiet as he was, he knew where he stood with things.
He was quite a bit older than I was, 10 years or so, and was just a fantastic brother, a mentor. He was a go-to for me, and had lots and lots of adventures, always carefree, fun, taught me how to ski, would take me to do things that I didn't have the opportunity to get into or to do otherwise, and feel like I learned so much from him, and definitely have a lot of very, very fun memories with him.
Yeah, he's a lot of fun, actually. He would say funny things and barely crack a smile. So, yeah, just a very, very easygoing, tender-hearted brother. I like him.
He was just this calm, level-headed guy, kind, and he was funny, always looking out for what you call the underdog. So John connected with those people.
He was the kindest person you could ever meet. Was always looking out for other people, unconcerned about himself.
Of him just being a very normal, a fun-loving child. Not especially given to mischief, but just enjoying the simple things in life, playing with his friends, and later turning into hobbies such as hunting, fishing, or whatever. Especially hunting, I would say.
My earliest memories would be we would just play and tussle and just do what little boys would do, just have fun in the house, the farmhouse there. Always be up to little boy things, chasing cats on the farm, or just running around.
Just that he loved to play and be with his Kayleen, Stephen, especially. Those three were especially close.
I love the way he always thought outside the box. If a person tried to fit him inside a mold, like he should do life a certain way, that didn't work for John.
My earliest memory of John, probably when we lived on a farm. We lived on a farm and we would burn our, I think this is the earliest. We would burn our feed bags out in front of the barn, and we had a little fire going there. John and I were jumping over it, and one time John didn't quite make it and got his knee burned a little bit, but he tried to hide it from Mom and just went into the barn and kind of took care of it ourselves.
I remember being at home, being part of naming him, and when he was brought home from the hospital.
Some of my earliest memories of John. I remember on the farm in Pennsylvania, just hanging out around the barn. We had a dairy farm, we milked cows, just hanging around doing chores.
In the fire department, we trained a lot. We were big into training, and we were briefing about a maneuver we were getting ready to go do. And we were standing around, asking more questions. And John just piped up, again, deadpan, just look you straight in the eyes. You would see it coming. He'd say, well, we're going to just stand around and talk about it, and we'll get it done. Just love.
John got married on June 26, 2009. His daughter was born on January 30th, 2012, and his son on August 6, 2013. Everything seemed to be going great for John. He loved being married, and he loved being a father more than anything. Little did he know in 2017, his life would change forever. On October 13, 2017, there was an incident outside of a restaurant known as Basil's, where John's wife at that time would claim he physically assaulted her.
His wife alleged that he had grabbed her arm, caused shoulder damage to her, and abused her, basically.
5 days later, following that incident, John would be arrested. In November of 2017, he would be served with an ex parte protection order saying he can't come anywhere near his wife and his kids.
How common is false allegations in family court?
It's common. It's become more common over the last 10, 20, 30 years. It's just devastating. It's violating.
All the accusations against him, that's just tough to hear when you know it's not the person that he really was.
John went to the restaurant and got the footage so when he went to court, he could say, "Judge, look for yourself. I didn't do any of the things that she said I did." Now, when John took that to court in December of 2017, the judge allegedly said, "We don't have anything to play that with, so I'm not allowing it in the court today." How do you not allow evidence inside of a court case?
The court battle, the court system, it seems so unjust to us and so unfair. Nothing about it was the way it should be.
Because of this, John lost hope and he went ahead and pled guilty. He felt like the courts was against him, his wife was against him, and that nobody believed him.
Innocent people plead guilty to crimes they did not commit, and our system encourages it because your lives are disrupted. You're missing work. You can't take care of your kids. You're missing your daily obligation.
He just wanted it to be over so hopefully he could see his kids sometime soon. Fast forward a little bit of time later, when John goes to family court, there was a new judge assigned to the case that allowed that footage to be played. What did it show? What he had been telling them all along. He didn't get anywhere near her.
So he was able to play the video for the judge, and the judge in his order said, "I watched the video. There was no abuse there. And frankly, ma'am, that cast doubt on pretty much everything else you told this court today and killed her credibility." And that largely resulted in John being awarded temporary custody.
I always will remember those moments where you could see him light up. There's a little glimmer of hope, I believe, after that.
Now, that hearing was around April or May of 2018. The order that the judge signed saying all of that wasn't until late August.
Had that first judge did what they were supposed to do in the first place and allowed that evidence to be shown, we might not be talking about this today.
Well, it makes me think of that if you're a judge, if you sit on a bench and you can pass judgment over other people, it's a big responsibility. And does a judge in a circumstance like that have blood on his hands? He could.
All right, Dwayne, I'm going to bring us up for a second there. There was a lot of details to go over in this particular story. And so I do think there was one place, like I saw some inaccuracies. I'll try to, clear some of those up. I told the story as best as I could with what knowledge I had.
Yeah.
In a story like this, dude, 2.5 years later, I'm still learning about it.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. So I said something about John didn't get anywhere near her. I think Kevin said it best in there. I believe the allegation was like she went to walk away and John, had his hand on her and she pulled away and was claiming he hurt her shoulder.
Right. Yeah.
John wasn't anywhere near her. From my understanding, that was what happened, which probably heard that several times.
Right.
But so far, man, you got any thoughts on what we've seen so far, guys? Anybody got some questions? If not, we'll go back into it. I do want to say one part that got me rewatching this after being so long. The way I planned that, I don't know if you saw at the very beginning, is showing the Thanksgiving show where I'm saying, "Hey, I'm going to bring on my first caller. John, are you there?" He says, "Yeah, I'm here." I wanted that to start off to let everybody no, John's here with us. Yeah, that still hits me, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hearing his voice. Yeah, I saw in some of the comments. One that I did want to bring up is somebody had pointed out Lauren here mentioned that John sounded like an altruistic man. John, he had the way the world should be. He was very I want to be a husband. I want to have children. I want to be a father. And again, with his belief system, which I agree with, that's his highest calling. And he wanted to represent, he had that honor, morals. He had all that in there. He was like, my job, I'm doing God's work. Essentially, I've been entrusted with this family and I'm going to do it. And he enjoyed every second of it.
Not a thing was going to stop him. And dude, he was just a quiet guy.
Yeah.
But if he spoke, He was blunt.
Right.
Well, basically, this is what it is. This is how I think. You didn't have to guess with the guy.
Right. Yeah. They didn't play 20 questions with him. He was very, say his piece and that's it. I mean, he sounded like, people were, saying, once you met him, he was very quiet. Then once you got to know him, then you got to really know who he was. I mean, you knew who he was when you first met him. He probably threw most people off because a lot of people today, they wear different masks. It really seems like John was like, what you see is what you get. And, he's like, I live my life this way. These are my morals. This is how I'm going to do things. And that's the way I'm going to do it. I do wonder, because there was that 4-year period. So that, they were married in 2009. And then in 2013, second child was born. And then 2017 was the ill-fated night. I wonder what that 4-year window is like for him.
I think, I've wondered that numerous times too. Like, what was going on to cause this to happen?
Yeah. I think a lot of the people in the comments and watching, we're all, of course, overlaying our personal history and story onto that and trying to figure out what happened. Things weren't great in my first marriage. But then there was that window of time. It was actually after my second son was born that my ex went off the rails, and her cornbread was not done in the middle. And it kept getting progressively worse. No matter what I did, it just didn't change anything. I'm wondering if that's what he did. After the second child was born, something happened, and then it just became a progressive. She just kept getting worse and worse and worse until I can't imagine they were, he bought her flowers that morning and then they went out to dinner that evening. That all happened. Like 4 years. What happened? Was it a progressive? She was just not in love with him anymore, or just, wasn't happy, or whatever that was. And then there was a progression of, things that happens when people are unhappy, and then that just kind of culminated in that 4-year mark. I don't know.
So, just to clear that up, since you're talking about it, and I know that's probably something that a lot of people question on that. Like, some I've kind of stayed away from, but I do believe there was one point in time that John and her were, I guess, not on good terms. And John had somebody he was talking to, not an affair. There was a woman he had been talking to, and he was accused of an affair.
Oh,
there was something in there, and that's what started that. And if I am wrong, I apologize, but I do believe, to my recollection, that was where that moment in time had come. So there was some motive there for that to start. But yeah, dude, I don't believe for 1 second that John would have messed around.
No. I didn't know the guy personally, and who knows what goes on in people's minds, but everything I've seen, his upbringing, knowing Robert, having spoke with him, and just the family environment he had, and just every other, there's no way.
Well, so there's some people that are religious. We meet them every day. There's some people that are religious, and there are some people that believe and practice what they preach. The Mast family is people that practice what they preach. I watched the next day or 2 days later, the Mast family sit at the funeral home with John and say that they forgive his murderer. Let me tell you something. They meant it.
Yes.
They will tell you that now. They mean it. They want justice, but they mean that forgiveness. And I think many people would say that it's lip service, but they practice their beliefs. They practice and live what they preach.
Yeah, he said it again at that dinner we were at. As we were talking about it, he said it again to the entire table. That he kind of laid everything out. He was very matter of factly about it too. It's, as far as forgiving, and he said it. And
I told him numerous times I couldn't have.
Oh yeah,
it's been in me.
No,
it's been in me.
When I say that family is a better man, better family than I could ever hope to be, I mean it. I do not have whatever God gave them to weather this and deal with it and wake up in the morning. I don't have it. I couldn't do it. There's no way.
You know how many times I've heard him say, you know, their biggest wish is for him to find God, repent, and, you know, ask for forgiveness for what he did, like admit, like, you know, I shouldn't have done this.
Yeah.
They just want to, and dude, I'm serious. I think
They're praying for his soul.
Forgiveness. Absolutely. They would.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. I'm telling you guys. And I'm glad that they can do that. I couldn't do it. But that's just the type of people I'm wanting to say here. That was his parents. That's what he grew up in. And John had a lot of those same values. So just keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah.
General Miller asked, when is the trial? The trial starts next week. Again, guys, I'll be live streaming it. Somebody was asking about what time. Starts at 8 a.m. and goes to 5 p.m. Now, keep in mind that is Mountain. It's either Mountain or Pacific time. So if you're in the Eastern time zone, we're looking at around 10 or 11 o'clock. I'll try to give updates as I know more. I've got a lot of struggles and trials to figure out once I get there. I get there on Monday. But as soon as I can find out, I will let you know. Shucky Shabazz said, what was the ex-father-in-law's motives? Anyone know, or what pushed him to do this? Shucky, stick around. As you get through this documentary, you'll definitely see it. So I guess we're going to get back to it from here. Just wanted to stop and give that, you know, little talk as we can. So let's get back to it, guys. Do me a favor. Again, hashtag I stand with John. Put some candles down in the comments. Like, share, comment on the feed. The more you do that, the more it opens up to our followers. I haven't been making as much content lately, so they're not pushing it out as much. The more you guys do that, the more it helps us get out John's story. So thank you for those that are watching and that are doing that. Thank you so much. Here we go.
What I would love to see is I would love to see whoever got
brings them back, and within 8 or 9 days later, mom is blowing up the phones to Williston County, CPS, and DHS, saying that John is a pedophile and who knows what else.
John got married in 2009. Keep in mind, up until October of 2017, he had never been accused of anything. After facing the false allegations and having to go to court, I believe he was fed up with it. And in January of 2018, he filed for divorce. 1 month later is when he would find out for the first time he was being accused of sexually molesting his children. 1 month after filing for divorce. Think about that.
Child Protection Services, also known as CPS, has came under much scrutiny over the past few decades.
Focusing on the challenges facing Child Protective Services.
5 children were taken by the state last night.
They claim Child Protective Services is making a huge mistake by tearing apart a good family.
Tells us why some are now calling for an overhaul of CPS.
The I team has taken a closer look at how the system failed baby Joel and how it forever changed a once vibrant and healthy child.
Warning tonight from an East Dallas couple about their run-in with Child Protective Services.
Protective Services took their children. Now CPS is being ordered to pay that family more than $100,000.
More parents are reaching out to our show about CPS than ever before. It seems evident there's something going on. Sheriff Richard Mack is the former sheriff of Graham County, Arizona. He has had close dealings with CPS, not only as a sheriff, but with his family as well. I sat down to talk with him in South Dakota and ask him what is going on.
This quote, Child Protection Service in every state has become so Gestapo and Nazi-ish that I'm sorry, but the cure is worse than the disease. I admit that there are some abusive situations where you need to be involved, but nobody trusts you anymore because of all these other thuggery things you do and taking children out of homes that shouldn't.
The family law and the CPS, just what was intended to protect children, they're doing harm so many times.
Seems a lot like it's just a job, and so they need customers, which is these kids, to sustain their livelihood. So it's a money business instead of caring for the kids.
My initial thoughts were it's something I'd seen before, although this was pretty extreme, and that is just extreme parental alienation.
She is being so hard on him and impossible, and he's innocent. I knew he was innocent.
It was It was incredibly difficult. It was at times that was agonizing, I think, for us to feel the heartbreak that he had.
It was horrible watching the pain in his eyes.
I have two kids of my own, and I have many times tried to place myself in his shoes, and I don't know how he did it, how he got up every morning and kept fighting for him.
So they're pretty much compelled to open a juvenile case at that point. They pulled the children out of John's home, could not put them with mom because she lived in another state. So over the several weeks, he was fighting these allegations in juvenile court. The juvenile court did not want to keep the kids in foster care much longer.
I thought that was horrible. I knew John was such a good dad.
Yeah, it was very, very frustrating.
So they had the choice of put them with mom or put them with this man that we have these allegations against, sexual abuse allegations that we haven't fully investigated yet. So the obvious choice was to put them with mom. Well, she used that from then on in the divorce hearing, once the juvenile case ended, to maintain control of the kids.
It's just very frustrating to see it get nowhere. No justice.
The biggest hole, the biggest pain I feel is the hole we had every day. And coming home to an empty house.
Him not being able to have his kids with him, was hard for us to see that.
Such a tragedy to have to go through that, to be able to do what he wanted to do, which was just being a dad with, to his two kids.
I can't fathom the pain, the mental pain that he went through.
I was livid. I felt so hopeless. I just helpless and hopeless with the situation. I wanted to do something.
Very frustrated to hear him talk about what he went through, and this court order happened, and then it got shot down.
There's just little subtle things that give the children hints that the other parent is either not acceptable or bad, or worse, they're even evil.
We weren't allowed to hug them. Mommy said, no hugs.
He wasn't just fighting against the mother of the children, but he was also fighting.
I got to pull up on that one. So you guys heard that. Mommy said no hugs. No, we're not talking about John. We're talking about John's family at this point.
Yeah, one of the things that people don't really seem to realize, that even though it impacts the immediate family, the mom, the dad, and the kids, there's so much more. There's the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles. There's all the other people that are negatively impacted by this. And when someone files something like that, it there's a ripple effect that goes out. It impacts so many other people. And the people they were recommending, I would thinking that there was just no way I could have dealt with what he dealt with.
How could you keep those grandparents away from their grandchildren?
Yeah, and then be told
this time they haven't seen the kids yet.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody's asked about that right yet. But no, as of this point, guys, and then you got to think what happened last time somebody went to see the kids. It was John. We no longer have them. Oh man, dude. There's so much going on. FPS said family court is so far gone. It's so unbelievably broken. I don't know if it will ever be fixed. I just don't see how it ever could be fixed. It has so far to go. FPS, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think at this point, the family court needs to just be completely abolished. Family court is needed. What we have as family court now, absolutely not. You've got to tear that thing completely down.
Yeah.
It's always going to be needed, though, because we got to keep in mind, guys, there are kids that are being abused. There are situations where kids need to be taken out. CPS should be a good thing. There are families and homes where kids need to be taken out of. When you see the majority of these kids that are being taken out and the way CPS has their hands involved, that's scary. So Sheriff Richard Mack that you saw in this video, that was an interview I did in South Dakota at a political convention that I was at.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, his grandkids got taken by CPS. So you want
what?
The sheriff. You want to talk about somebody that's lit up and ready to expose CPS for everything they're worth? Like, he was a gift from God that I got to meet him that day. And there's so many different facets of what's going on in family court, where it's, false allegations, child support, paternity fraud, and then CPS is its own little animal. And I wasn't as aware of that. And as he just kept going through and telling me all the things he saw with CPS, it seems like states like Texas and Arizona really need to have some very big eyeballs on what CPS is doing with these kids. People talk about Title 4D and the money that's made off of Title 4D with the incentives. CPS and the money that's being made with adopting kids out.
Title 4E.
I see they talked about the Sounds of Freedom. Well, CPS should have been in that movie somehow.
Yeah, they should have had a whole chapter on that movie because, it's happening legally every single day. Cash for Kids in Tarrant County, Texas. We have a video. Well, that's literally what happened. I mean,
Yep.
You say it's abolished. I mean, family courts become a kind of a caricature of what it should have been. I mean, they have the system that with the $60 billion a year industry that we know about it's gotten so bad, and it just keeps getting worse with the more laws and who's making the laws, family court lawyers and what they're doing. There's no turning around. There's going to be no magical law that's going to just fix this. It's too corrupt.
Well, so with advocacy, when we tell stories like this, they'll try to make it look like this is, just one out of millions that, just went wrong. The majority of cases go right, that we cherry pick cases to talk about, right? It's the other way around. They'll cherry pick the one case that there was some type of relief and be like, this is what happens in every situation.
Right.
And you tell these stories and you see all the guys saying, this was my story. This was my story. I beg to differ with you, sir. It's mind blowing. Dude, you brought in a good comment. We was chatting back and forth. He said, is it, John had to be, we was talking about him being very religious in the belief system and believing in marriage for life. He filed for divorce. Did he just get so fed up? So I think after, and if I'm wrong on any of this, if I ever find out, guys, I'll re-report on it just like I did earlier. But I do believe I'm pretty accurate on this. Once John went through that incident at Basil's, she put him on a TPO and was keeping him away from the kids. And so after he went through that and had to plead guilty for that charge, he filed for divorce. I think it got to the point. Yeah. I do want to note, after everything you're going to see on this documentary, and you'll hear his family and friends talk about this too, he never talked bad about her, Dwayne.
I know.
Yeah. Can you say that you've never said something even tongue-in-cheek about your ex? I can't say that, guys. I'm going to tell you, I went through some situations that, my tongue got away with me a couple of times, but John never downed her. He didn't. He would talk about the things that she did, but he never talked bad about her.
When I say he's a better man than I could ever hope to be, I mean across the board. Yeah, with what he went through, there was nothing out there recorded that I've ever seen that he's ever said one cross word about her.
Nope.
I could not do it. I'm standing here, guys, my witness. I could not do it. I haven't done it, and I'm getting better as the years go by. But I mean, he was in the thick of it and not talking bad about her. That wouldn't have happened.
Even in private conversation.
Yeah.
Like John would wish her the best, man. I just can't be with her. She's doing some of this, but he would wish her the best. And just like we was talking about the family of forgiveness earlier. There's no way, dude.
Yeah, he didn't do the Texas bless your heart thing. I mean, he was, he honestly, I wish her the best. Not even, again, the Texas bless your heart thing. People from Texas know what I'm talking about. This guy just not an angry
guy.
Yeah, I mean, better man than I could have ever been still.
Well, so when John was first killed, man, I was sitting here, wasn't my family member. It wasn't like real life friend, but I had connected with him over this.
Right.
I was angry the other day getting on the news place and reading some of the feed. And I was angry. Guys, do you know that they started a GoFundMe for the following? We'll get into that. Do not let me forget about that.
Oh, I won't.
Angry. But I would ask the family how they felt. And the first thing Robert told me, he's like, well, not anger. He's like, we want to see justice, but we're not angry. There's no way, dude.
Better people than I could ever. I mean, say what you will about Amish, ex-Amish, whatever. Better people than I could ever hope to be. We need more of them in this world.
Well, we used to look at, places like that and think, oh man, just how lost they are and how much they don't know. You look back and I was talking to somebody not long ago in Africa where technology has made it, and the kids are getting cell phones. They're getting Americanized, and a lot of the political bullcrap that we have is being force fed down the kids' mouths over there. They said it's transforming everything. Divorce is going crazy. However, you go to the villages where there's no technology and everything, there is no divorce. Families are happy. They don't know it. Yeah, we've kind of went back that way.
There was a movie back in the early 80s called The Gods Must Be Crazy. They actually had a part 1 and part 2. I just watched part 1, and it shows this I think it was African family. Someone had threw a Coke bottle out the window, a soda Coke bottle out the window, and they had never been touched with technology, whatever. And it showed how technology kind of started to ruin that entire village. And I need to go back and watch that because it is kind of representative of what we see today. But yeah, as far as outside of I gotta have my internet, but outside internet, I kind of like the Amish lifestyle. I'll be honest.
I don't know what I'd do without my zombies.
Yeah, that is maybe they secretly do it and we don't know about it.
Yeah. And you know what, dude? I see the brotherhood down in the comments. You guys talking back and forth about your cases. That's what it's about, man. Just remember, John used to be one of those guys doing what we're doing right now. So, like I said, keep those comments, likes, shares, and everything going. We're going to start this back up. I just wanted to pause and tell you about that with the CPS. Here we go.
Fighting the family law system, the courts.
The juvenile case ended eventually months and months later with no finding that John had sexually abused his kids in any manner. But the case just ended. After a year, it was dismissed.
Did John ever talk to you about his relationship?
He did occasionally. And he tried to, he would not necessarily paint her in a bad light. His one concern was always the kids. He didn't want the kids to know and find out that, that mom was bad or come out with any animosity towards the mother.
No. He would never rail on his wife.
His heart was really pure, but also in hopes of, by almost protecting her or not, he would never mouth her.
He never trash talked. I thought that remarkable. Never heard him say a foul word about her ever. That's remarkable.
Never, not even since it's been so bad. In his love notes, he would say, I am fighting for you, Ashira, Zane, and Mommy. He had his struggles, but very few words on it.
But he wanted to spare us the heartbreak of this horrendous situation. How gracious that is.
Ask John's family what it was like seeing him go through these false allegations, and if they thought for 1 second he could do the things he was accused of.
Accusations, they were horrific.
There were allegations, started with domestic violence allegations. Those didn't stick. He was exonerated of those. And then it went into sexual allegations, first from the daughter. He was exonerated of that. It also went to, then also to the son. My brother John was exonerated on all charges.
I think he felt shame that he would be even named as such.
It absolutely broke my heart to see him go through this, because I knew without a shadow of a doubt, there was never any doubt on the fact that he did not do any of these allegations, and they were completely false. There was no shadow of a doubt in my mind.
Who closer than his mother and father? We never for once did we doubt that John was innocent.
Never. He loved his children.
John was exactly the opposite of what he was accused of being.
Absolutely not. And just John's demeanor and the way he talked about his children, you could look at pictures very recent pictures between he and his children. His children were all over him. They loved him.
There's no way in God's green earth that John had any of that would have been true. It's unfathomable that he had to live with that.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, that's unbelievable that someone would make those allegations just to hurt him. It's the only reason. There's not a chance that they were true.
Knowing what you know about John, do you think there's any possibility he could have done the things he was accused of?
No, I don't believe so at all.
I do not believe that for 1 minute. That was not who John was. John was, in his core, he's a man of integrity. He's a good man that would only love and do what is best for his kids.
This was not something John was capable of doing, and it was later bore out in so many ways. Immediately, when the first investigation, he told the police, I'll do a polygraph, I'll cooperate with whatever.
He passed a polygraph test. He passed a psychosexual assessment, which tests people for sexual deviancy, such as pedophilia and that kind of thing. And he was off the charts on that testing that he would never do something like that. So I never doubted that he didn't do anything to his children.
And he came away with flying colors. No, he doesn't fit a sexual pedophile. We understood who John was, always gentle, just a gentle character.
He went through he did a polygraph. He did the sexual evaluation, but that still wasn't enough.
In some ways, my family is very supportive, so much that they've done, but they haven't been through this and they don't understand necessarily.
Do you feel like you fully understand or understood what John was going through?
No, I don't feel like I did. I tried, but I don't feel like I did.
I did not fully understand. I'll be honest. I did not fully understand. I thought I had a handle on it, but looking back after reading through his stuff, his notes to his kids, and just the many other little nuances, I'm realizing, no, I didn't. I only understood a little bit.
For myself as his brother, it was so deeply painful to not know what we could do, to not have a recourse of action. We tried to be there for him in every way we could. But you just wanted to right the wrong that was happening, and there was nothing really that we could or knew to do.
We hardly know how hard it was for him.
I'm not sure that anybody can understand fully, but I did know the allegations. We attended every court proceeding, especially every major one. If there was a very tiny or minor one we might have missed, but our intention was to be there every one. We agonized through every part of this process.
I would guess I understood 25% of what he was going through. And, I'm assuming I'm not assuming, I know I still don't fully understand what he went through, but just reading some of his love notes and different things, I know I only understood like I say, 25% of what he went through.
And spent 2 days there in the courtroom with him. We slept together in his house, and that was so good. I just saw John, he felt so loved. He was quiet, and he was just like, he didn't know what to do with that. So much support in one time. And we just loved on him and prayed with him and just said, we're going to pull through this. We're not going to stop fighting for this. And you could see him light up and feel accepted.
And these fathers that go through these false allegations, even if they prove their innocence, it seems like there's this black cloud over their head.
There are always people that will believe it. You can have everyone in the world come and swear and say this person did not do this, but there's always going to be people that believe that it happened.
Robert Garza joined Dad Talk near the beginning in late 2019. This case struck very close to home with Robert, as he has been in his own battle facing over 43 false CPS allegations, and he beat every single one.
At first you don't believe it. Then when it does set in, you can't believe that anyone ever believe them. It doesn't become real until you start getting protective orders, restraining orders. Then when you're supposed to pick them up, that's when it really sets in, because you're used to picking them up at a certain time or day and you can't get them. It's a feeling I hope nobody should go through, but too many of us do go through it.
Now, if you can prove your innocence, does that stigma go away?
No, it doesn't. I go to my kid's school and you can see people whispering or looking at you with doubt. But all you can do is hold your head up high.
Holidays are some of the worst times for alienated parents. This is time that they should be spending with their children. At this time, I'd like to bring our first guest on the show. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Most of the time when they're not, it's because they're not being gave a chance.
There was one point of 9 months of no contact.
A very common thing that happens is right before the holidays, when they go to pick up the kids from school, they're hit with a temporary restraining order of either physical or sexual abuse accusations. And because it's the holiday, they can't get in touch with their lawyer until afterwards, and they lose that time with their kids. We refer to this as holiday hijack. But I don't know, is it parental alienation you've experienced, child custody issues, family court? Tell us a little bit about what it is you've experienced.
Yeah, it's all of that.
It's a little trick they play. They call it the silver bullet for a reason.
They may not at all understand, and they may in turn end up judging you for whatever it is that may have led to the situation you're in.
I do this marathon on the holidays where these alienated parents can come on and speak with us to people that knows what it is they're going through.
The way I feel misunderstood, and I feel not important, undervalued as a father.
And so that they are not alone.
You just have to be really careful and pick some positive and uplifting people that will be there for you.
Thanksgiving 2020, John Mast was the first one to sign up. Hey, John, how you doing this Thanksgiving, man?
I'm all right. How about you?
I had talked to John before, but one thing that always struck me different, usually when people reach out, it's because they want you to hear about their case. They want some solutions. John would write in periodically just to check on me and tell me to take care of myself. He would frequently share Dad Talks posts and give me words of encouragement. It's something I'll never forget.
Thanks for all you do, Eric. I really appreciate it. You're making a huge impact.
We get bombarded with messages sometimes, and I can't keep up with everybody's stories. You know, doing the marathons like this is a way that I can bring them on and they can tell me a little bit about what it is they are going through and struggling with.
My ex-wife and I separated, and pretty much from that point on, the kids have been separated from me.
That day, I told John I wasn't going to say his name. We weren't going to say the kids' names. I wanted to protect him because I knew he was in active litigation, and anything you say and or do will be used against you in court. So we kept him off screen and we brought him on. I wanted him to feel safe to talk to me about anything it was that he was going through. Do you have any faith in the court system as it is right now?
No.
And that's sad. That's sad. John had been exonerated in May, and now here it is, Thanksgiving. He still hasn't heard when he was going to be able to see his kids.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Eric, and thanks for all you do.
After that was over, I brought John back up on the screen to talk to me because I wanted to create a little bit more of a relationship, and I wanted him to know that I was there for him. Thank you. All right, I'm going to edit this part out. I'm going to have that on there, but I appreciate you coming on, man. It was so hard to hear what John was going through, but you know, that day, he was actually very hopeful. He seemed in a good mood. He knew that he had proved his innocence, and the following month, he was going to hear when he was going to be able to see his kids. It looked like everything was finally starting to turn around for John.
I think there's a final order coming up where things will get better.
That's what we thought.
I got a phone call from my brother John at about 11:08 in the morning, I believe. And he told me that he will get to see his kids that evening. He was going to do that earlier, but then that was shot down by the mother of the children. But then the court again ruled in his favor and said the motion was denied by the mother. You get to see the children at 6 that evening. So he called me. He said, I won this motion. I get to see the kids.
I was here to be with him when we got word that he gets to pick up his children for the first time that evening, unsupervised for parenting time. It was supposed to start at 6 o'clock on Friday night.
I said, John, do you need anything? Is there anything you need? I can drive up. I live about 4.5 hours from here. I can come give you a hand.
So when I got word that day, I knew I had to be here.
He said, no, I got it, Steve. I can handle it. You don't need to come. But I did end up coming.
So I came down, got here about 10 till 6.
We need to come and be with John.
And he asked me to record.
He did come into my car then. We were a little bit early.
So it's all caught on camera.
And he did just tell me that he was happy I got here.
But yes, I knew I had to be here.
Got an email. It's about 5:45. And it was from the mother of the children. And she said, yes, we will be there at 6. She was confirming the time. This was not typical of the mother to ever confirm and cooperate with the time.
But before I had a chance to start recording,
he always had to watch his back.
At like 5:54, I saw that she must be here because I recognized the Suburban.
We talked about the logistics of getting the kids.
And I was coming down from up there from my brother's vehicle.
And I told her that we need to be there.
I was standing right here by the van, and John was beside me.
And instead of the mother bringing the children, the ex-father-in-law showed up.
And Jim walks around the front of the van and starts shooting. Says, "Hi, John," and starts shooting.
On the night of February 5th, 2021, John Mast arrived to the Resowers parking lot in Williston, Idaho, where he was set to pick up his kids. Upon arrival, he noticed his sister Betty and brother Stephen were there just to keep an eye on things. He told them everything would be okay. He then saw a car pulling up that belonged to his ex-wife. When he turned around, John was met by his ex-father-in-law, Jim Brashear, who says, "Hi, John," and then proceeded to shoot him 3 times.
This was the scene Friday night, February 5th, moments after 6 o'clock. This is where investigators say James Brashear fatally shot his daughter's ex-husband, John Mast. Police say Mast was shot 3 times. Mast was taken to St. Joseph Regional Medical Center, where he later died. Reporting from the newsroom, Justin Spinney, KLEW News.
The best I could remember was 2 shots and a pause and another shot. I think at that point, John ducked and ran up for cover. By that time, I was on the phone with 911, kept my eyes here on Jim. John made it up, ran up and made it to cover. I headed back up to see if he's okay, to see what's happened. And at that time, my brother was with him and had caught him on the way down. And I held his hand and I said, "John, fight. Shira and Zane need you. Stay with us, fight." And he squeezed my hand, called my mom.
We had a call and Betty said, "Mom, Jim just shot John."
They called. They had said that he got shot.
And Betty said, "Is there something you would like to say to John?"
We started gathering stuff, hoping it was not serious.
I got up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, and I always check my phone.
When I got the phone call, I was just in complete shock.
My first thought was, I couldn't believe it. You tried telling yourself, this is a bad dream. This is not real.
I never knew that John's case was as serious as the news that I was being told.
My first thought was, he's gonna make it. Like, this is unreal. This is not the way he was supposed to go. And he is gonna make it.
When I got the phone call, you immediately, your mind kicks into that, it can't be real.
It's the most devastating moment of my life.
And another call came briefly, and they said, "Pray harder."
It was agonizing, probably the most painful thing that I've ever experienced or gone through.
It took, some time for it to soak in that there is actually something serious going on.
And I'm sorry, I yelled into the phone. I was so in anxiety.
And I said, "We love you, John. We love you, John."
And his mother and I both said, "John, we love you."
And John squeezed Betty's hand. So we know he heard it.
And then getting the call that he didn't make it, it was complete shock.
I can't even put it into words.
I was just ready to hit the road when I got the phone call saying that he didn't make it.
Absolutely. The most agonizing, excruciating pain in my heart.
How does one deal with such an unjust way of dying?
It was, of course, the most tragic news we could ever have heard.
We were so undone. I lost it on the phone.
I dropped to the ground in the middle of the cul-de-sac of where I lived and just didn't think I could make that drive.
There's no words for it. There's no words for it.
I think I bottled a lot of it in for a few hours after I found out. I was angry, I was mad, I was hurt, I was sick to my stomach.
Just unbelievable that someone would do that to John. Such a good person, good, soft-hearted, tender person. It's unreal.
It's just like, no, John fought so hard. And just to end this way, the injustice is like unbelievable.
We stopped everything we were doing. We were supposed to be going to Michigan to start on a documentary. And I wanted to be there with the family and document. The media hardly ever gets these stories right, and they never want to report on it until it's something that's extreme. And I knew that John needed us now more than ever. Even though he wasn't here, he needed us to be his voice.
That's what's so hurtful and so hard, because this is a guy that did it the right way. And look what happened to him. And I believe, though, there will be justice out there for everyone that was involved. And that's what kind of keeps me going right now.
When I stood over him in that casket, guys, I knew then my life would never be the same. And my only thought was, I'm ready to go to war. Upon news of John being murdered, our team stopped everything we were doing and was ready to help any way we could. We were set to start filming in Michigan on another case that week and canceled all those tickets to reroute. I left at 4 o'clock the next morning and flew to Salt Lake City, Utah, where I met Robert and flew into Spokane, Washington. John's court case went down in Williston, North Dakota. He was murdered in Lewiston, Idaho, and his funeral was in Libby, Montana. We wanted to make sure to visit every one of these places that while we were there. When we arrived, we were shocked to experience the coldest weather either of us had ever been in. It was minus 30 degrees. There were no gas stations in sight for hundreds of miles. And the 3 times we did stop for gas, the pumps froze on us while doing so. Our first stop was in Libby, Montana to meet the family. All of us were still in shock, but wanted to make sure we were there documenting everything that was going on so that John's story could be told and so we could pay our respects.
So this book return right here is the exact spot they agreed to meet to exchange the children. So we built a little memorial here. And this shows a picture of John with Ashira and Zane at their home in Williston, North Dakota. And he did have the kids then for a little bit. In this window, there's a candle, a plug-in candle that John lit at that time. And he would talk to me about, and this was a candle for the children that he said he was going to keep burning for them till he has them again.
So the next day after it happened, Saturday, we got to John's apartment and found 4 journals that he had left for his children that he had kept writing in. The journals helped us see the battle and the pain that John carried, and the dad that he was. His children were what he lived and breathed day and night, and he kept going for them. And this was April 6, 2018. Zane, my heart breaks for you, son. I hear you. The pain within me has grown so great and so loud. I will never stop fighting. For you and me and Ashira. When you read this, please understand I am doing all I can within my power to be your daddy. But stronger forces than me are keeping us separated. I'm so sorry. I know your pain is deep. Remember me no matter what. All my love in this life and the next life. We will meet again.
Our crew traveled to Williston, North Dakota to seek answers as to what happened in John's case. When we arrived to the Williams County Courthouse, we asked to see the judge who was over John's case. We were not granted that request. We were able to get a case summary and take a tour of the courthouse. This is where the trials of John Mast happened, and the feeling was all too surreal, standing in the very place he had not long before this, defending himself against these false allegations. We can make his story live on. At some point, we've got to be the movement that we were called to be.
Just think, if this were you, or if it happened to you, what would you want others to do?
Like, I can't even begin to imagine what the pain is like that's going through their hearts right now. I can't begin to imagine how those kids are feeling. They're allowing us to come in to tell his story, and it's quite honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do.
It's going to be a long, hard weekend for sure.
Think that John knew something like this was possible?
Yes.
Oh, we definitely did. We definitely did. John had made a few remarks. I've seen a little bit of email writing. I knew that John at times was just terrified as to what he should do. He wanted the children and yet felt threatened.
The families talked about that quite a bit. I think there were some premonitions there, just in some of the things some of the comments he made, whether it was to coworkers or friends or family, in the days or weeks ahead of when this happened.
You know, I've thought a lot about that the last few days, and I think it's easy to say, oh yeah, I can see that coming. I did not think that would happen.
I don't think he fully knew that it was going to happen, but he made it clear that the possibility is there.
I think John wanted to believe that this would never happen, that somebody that he used to have a relationship with wouldn't take things this far.
I do believe so. We were concerned with him, and we heard from time to time, I think his ex-wife mentioned that a threat at one point, and his father-in-law said something to the effect that he'll do whatever it takes. He'll kill you. I'll kill you.
This was contentious. There was a lot of bad blood, but it was still shocking when it happened. That's the only way I know to answer it. I think other people weren't shocked, but for me personally, I was just shocked by it.
I do. And I'm not sure. I try to rationalize how he processes. I try to wrap my mind around that. John, how were you feeling? Were you scared? Why didn't we have bulletproof vest? We all were scared for his life.
He openly told me that the threats were made, and he believed it could happen. I mean, he just told me plain words that the threats have been made.
And he did know that this could happen. We and him did know how volatile Jim's character was, and the temper and so on. So he did always know this could happen. So I think part of him saying, don't come, was for my safety. But I did end up coming. I got off the phone and I thought about it, talked to my sister about it, and I told her that we need to be there. We need to come and be with John for this
Lord,
time.
I pray you would open the way. Go before us, Lord, as we seek after the well-being, the mental, emotional, spiritual health of these children. Lord, we pray for our lawmakers, both statewide and nationally, that there could be an awareness and a move that would further protect the innocent, whether it's children, whether it's mothers, whether it's fathers. Lord, that our system is, we declare it is ripe for overhaul. God, we ask you in the middle of this, Lord, bless every one of these that stand with John. Bless all these as they travel, coming here, going home. Bless them that you would put on their hearts to continue to stand and pray. Lord, we give you the honor. We give you the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
You were telling me an interesting story about a court case that took place.
John Mast, he was met by his ex-father-in-law who shot him 3 times and murdered him.
Tell us a little bit about this case where the father was murdered.
I had a father that came back on in November. He's met by his ex-father-in-law that shot him 3 times. In the case that you showed right before I came on, John Mast, that was a father that had been fighting for 3 years.
The family of John Mast gathered outside the Nez Perce County Courthouse this morning to honor him and continue his fight against parental alienation.
This was his mission that was not completed, to further the cause of children being wronged.
Kevin Hickey, a custody attorney of 21 years, alleges this was the case in Mast's situation. It's Mast's ex-wife's family accused him of child molestation, but the Nez Perce County Prosecutor's Office says he has never been criminally charged. Eric Carroll says this is more common than you'd expect. He runs a podcast called Dad Talk, where he and Mast chronicle the custody battle.
I haven't seen the kids in 2.5 months, in spite of a court order to try and get me involved in the kids' lives.
For John's family, his memory lives on in their new mission. His father says they've even found the strength to forgive. A preliminary hearing for James Brashear is set in Nez Perce County District Court for April 14th at 1:30 p.m.
And several years ago, I started hearing a phrase that was thrown around by football teams called next man up. And what that means is we can't let, when our starter goes down, we can't let that impact our morale. We can't let that kill our heart, because we're here on a mission. We're a team, and we've got to carry on as a team. And all of you here, that's what we are. We're the next person up. John was the starter. He was the star, and he was the starter, and it was his heart, and it was his passion to do everything and support every cause that is on every one of these signs that we have. And it's up to us now. And it's up to us to do what we can with the legislature to make changes, to do what we can legally, and to do what we can with just telling John's story. Anybody that will listen, anybody that you can talk to, he is not going to die in vain. His story is going to be told, but it's got to be told by somebody. And that starts with everybody that's here, everybody that's listening out there. We are the next people up. And I would challenge all of you, whenever you can tell that story, and do what you can to further John's causes. Those need to become our causes. Because I do believe he's looking down.
We are going to do all we can to let them know how much their daddy loved them.
Sharon Zane,
Bring memories back to the Sharon Zane.
I want to really tell you how much your daddy loved you. He loved you so much.
He loved him so much.
He was a great daddy, and I can honestly tell them that.
Always fighting for the best of the kids.
Just want to tell you, your dad, he loved you.
John, my brother John was a good man. He was a good man.
Your daddy was a good man.
Your daddy loved you more than anything in the world.
John loved you without reservations.
It was an unending love. He loved you guys 24 hours a day.
Their dad loved them so incredibly much.
Your daddy loved you so much.
Every breath of his life was spent fighting for his children.
That's why he fought to get them. That's why he fought the court system.
He fought until his last breath to be in your life.
And everything that was against him. Everything was against him.
Always fought for you guys.
He basically gave his life for you, and he was willing to do that.
You were his life.
He wanted so much to hold you,
Looking out for them, doing whatever he could.
to hug you,
He lived to see you guys.
to kiss you,
And they will know with time when they get older.
to play with you,
He would want them to know that, and I know they're going to find this out.
to love you.
He loved them like I've hardly ever seen.
And he was denied that.
Zane, your dad is proud of you. He loves you.
He fought so hard, as you will see one day in his journals.
He was so hurt and lonesome for you.
In a shire, and you were his shining star.
Always trying to do what was best for you guys.
That's what killed him. He was so lonesome.
I'm thinking they will have questions.
And none of the allegations are true. They're all false.
He did not do what he was accused of doing.
He paid the ultimate price.
He said in the letters, I'm fighting for you.
Gave his life.
Bring that memory to your forefront. That memory was true. That was your daddy.
It was like 24 hours a day that they were on his mind.
He would just want them to be safe and loved.
I think he would do it all over again, even if he knew the end result.
John Mast lost his life fighting for his children. While his life may have been murdered, his fight just experienced a new birth. It's time we become the movement we were called to be. How many parents, how many kids, how many lives must we lose for people to wake up? John Mast was a father that did it the right way. He did what the system told him to do, and it still failed him. We are his voice now. We are the ones who can keep his memory alive and fight to change the system for the future generation. Now is the time to stand for what you believe in. Stand for the innocent. Stand for the broken. My name is Eric Carroll, and I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John.
I 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 stand with John. I stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John. I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John. I stand with John.
I stand with John.
Stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John. I stand with John.
Stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John.
I stand with John. I stand with John.
I stand with John.
We stand with John. We are John's voice now. We will continue the story. And don't forget, you never know who just may be watching. Struggling through it. Are you getting to see your kids at all?
So I have a court order saying that that I have unlimited access to them through Zoom, video, telephone. But and it's 6 months and she has not allowed it. And we had some other court events. And this order is from coronavirus. So the in-person visits, she's exploited the coronavirus to no extent, to a pretty hefty extent there. So no, I haven't gotten to see my kids in 2.5 months. I did see them some over the summer. I think there's a final order coming up where things will get better.
COVID-19 was the biggest present an alienator could have ever received.
Unbelievable. Yeah. I'll tell you this one more thing. I'm laughing about it now because I have friends around me and I'm happy in my life. But I would give them, during some of my visits over the spring and summer, I'd give them some gifts. Kids couldn't receive them. They either threw them away, or when they did see something they kind of liked, it was from China. So even then, they couldn't receive some of those gifts because of COVID, and possibly a germ would be on there from China.
I remember when that was going down, dude.
Thanks for all you do, Eric. I really appreciate it. You're making a huge impact.
Well, brother, I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna get a couple more of these together. I'll edit it and have it up tomorrow. And good thing about stuff like this, even though I didn't say your full name, you didn't say your kid's name, you can always show this to your kids. I have to work around it. Some of these guys want to come in here and tell all their details about their case. That can get them in trouble. It can get us in trouble, and it's not really smart for them to do it. But
at this point, thanks, Eric, for being respectful there. But at this point, I'm just not concerned about it. I mean, my case it's been a nightmare and really a joke, and it's a shame that our society and our system of government is like this. It's really, really bad. My kids are, especially my son, is really, he's a broken boy, and it really bothers me.
Are you doing any advocacy work or volunteering for any of the organizations right now?
As much as I can. If anything, I do something for you. And I'm still kind of in the thick of it, going towards the end of things, I think.
Right.
But at some point, I sure don't want to forget what I've been through. I sure don't want to lose that motivation, because on one side of me, I'm very angry. I'm so angry, not necessarily outwardly or in a bad way, but I'm really motivated to really make a difference at some point, to possibly run for office or at least do some pretty good advocacy work.
It's what we need, man. I'll be honest with you, though. When you get into the politics, I hate politics. I just started going and meeting with these guys earlier this year. They don't care. You mention Title 4D to them, and they think that they're going to lose money. It's out.
I've had a meeting. Yeah, I agree with that. I had a meeting with just a local state representative a year ago, and he wants change, maybe, but maybe he just let on like that. But he said as soon as we start touching that, even at the state level, there's no change coming at all, is basically what he said.
So that ending with the credits was the conversation I had with John that I didn't know I recorded. There was a little bit of footage that was edited out with talk with me and John. For the most part, that was the full conversation end to end like that. My thoughts are right now, Dwayne, is I spent almost 4 years traveling this country, talking to politician after politician after politician, because I honestly thought that was going to do something.
Yeah.
And then here, even just talking to John, and it's like as soon as they find out that it's going to take away money, there's no change at all. That still rings as true today as it ever has. And he knew it. I know it. We all know it. And I think it's up for us, standing with John, getting out stories like this just to let him know
we've got to take the power back, man.
Yeah, they're not going to willingly make changes. They're not going to wake up one day and go, you know what? Yeah, us taking the millions of dollars, the bonuses, all the kickbacks, all the other fun stuff that happens with the $60 billion a year industry. We're going to go ahead and change that because one person came. It's going to take all of us forcing change peacefully to get that done. And watching that video again, I hadn't watched it for a while, and I remember why, because it's a gut check.
It is, dude.
I mean,
it is. I didn't. I looked away from the screen when that whole was coming up. When going back to this system, here it is. He spent all this money. He spent all that time, and people can say, well, he was exonerated, so the system did for him what he was supposed to. One, he should have never had to do that.
Right.
And two, even after he was exonerated, they waited almost a full year before telling him, oh, now you can see your kids. And then he goes to die. The system was just as culpable as anybody else.
Yeah.
Hear what anybody says. The fact that John went with evidence and they wouldn't look at evidence, and then an innocent man pleaded guilty and then is exonerated later, there should be some consequences for some judges on that. You really should.
Oh, yes. It's not just kind of talking about it. The judge said, I don't have a VCR or a DVD player or whatever to play it. Go ahead and plead guilty. What kind of justice is that?
And as crazy as that sounds, you would think that would be a rare occurrence. I had several people that told me the same thing. We didn't have
every day
enough to play it with. And like, really? So instead of saying, until we can see the evidence, we're not going to hear this, we're just going to go ahead. And it makes sense why somebody would go ahead and plead guilty, because they're afraid of the bigger charge coming. You're not even letting me show my evidence. You want me to think that you're about to give me a fair trial?
Right. Oh, exactly. And they'll say things like, well, you'll get to see your kids after that. Ignoring that pretty much every state, when you plead guilty to something like that, it's over.
I 100% believe that's why he did it too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm sure they said they hung the carrot out there. Oh, you haven't seen your kids in all this time. You want to see your kids? Just plead guilty to this. We'll make it go away, or you'll get a slap on the wrist or community hours or whatever they told him. And he wanted to be over with.
Just so because it's been a while, and even these things, rewatching this is just bringing up all the different advocacy that was going on, things that we was talking about when this case first happened. Me and Dwayne were throwing some notes back and forth to bring up. If you guys have some questions, bring them. That's what we're here for. I am here in the next couple of weeks to promote this as hard as I can, and I hope you guys help us because we definitely need it. The journals that you saw flipping through there. I've taken for granted numerous times, Dwayne, the impact that this podcast is having. Sometimes you question yourself, I'm being ridiculous. This isn't doing anything. You've been through it. And it was one of those moments, like when I found out that John had passed because of our conversation. One of the things I asked John was like, what do you do when you can't see your kids to help you get through? Have you been keeping a journal? And he said, yes, Eric, I have been keeping a journal. I haven't done it, in a while, but I was keeping a journal and just got to the point I couldn't do it anymore. So as soon as that happened to John, I reached out to the family and said, he's got notes to those kids. You need to go. You need to search John's house. He was writing down what was happening, and he wrote notes to his kids, and they need to see that one day. Sure enough, they found it when we was at his funeral, dude, all those journals, and it was dated. He was writing to his kids. One of the questions that I asked the family is, do you think that John thought this could happen? I think the majority of the family said yes. And other people's like, hindsight's 2020. I don't know. Dude, if you read those journals, and guys, if you want to see them, if you go to the John Mast Foundation on Facebook, you'll have to scroll to the very beginning when the photos first started getting released. Those, you want to talk about goosebumps and an eerie feeling? Go back and read those journals. There is some of those journals where he's writing to his daughter. It sounds like John is writing in the afterlife, dude. It really does. If you read it now, it would make just as much sense as, if not more sense, to read it now than it would before his death. It was like he knew, man.
Yeah, speaking prophetically, I mean, he was writing it And I don't know, kind of what again, never met the guy in person, but the way he spoke and what he did, when he said something, he said it and it was blunt to the point, but he said things that had, I don't want to say two meanings that could be taken the wrong way, but he said it to where you could look at it now and you could look at it 5 years from now and you would pull the same yet different meanings based on where you're at. And when you read some of those journals, that's what I got from it.
I mean, speaking of bluntness, you saw a little bit of that last conversation there in the credits where, I have to be careful. There's people that want to come on and tell their stories. A lot of times there's true, but just because somebody says this is what happened to me doesn't mean that's what happened.
Yeah.
And so even like when I had John on that day, I did not say his name. We didn't say his kids' names. I didn't have his video on there, and that was meant to protect him. And I said, man, some people try to do this and it's just not smart. That's just trying to protect ourselves and everybody to keep what we've got here because we don't have much in the advocacy world. Right. And John was like, Eric, I appreciate it, but I'm just not worried about that. My case has been a nightmare. I'm ready to get it out. He just let us know this is where I'm at this point in time. And I just didn't know how real those words would be, man. So if any of these parents you see coming and saying, hey, I think this might happen, nobody listens to them until this happens. That's the sad thing. Nobody listens. And when we get to this point, guys, it's too late.
Yeah, it's too late. Well, when you've been bringing this up for a while, the custody exchange deletions, trying to keep it safe for Facebook and YouTube, but the deletions, you had been trying to get information on that, and actually on the pissed off parent side, I set up a piece of automation that finds that. And I was telling you the other day, it's something like 3 or 4 a day in the United States that gets reported on that, finds those keywords. It happens a lot. And what's a little scarier, I'm going to speak to Texas here. They had someone talking about it and they were reporting, let's just say one gender's version of that. And they were misrepresenting the other one, which is where a lot of these happen. So they're not getting out there, but they're happening all the time.
It's just going to get worse, man. I mean, we're in come up next year. It's going to be the election. The news is about pushing whatever divides our country right now.
The narrative,
they've both got their own narratives, and this is what we're going to feed. And unfortunately, it is very profitable for them. So real news that's going on with people like me and you, like if you see in the beginning of I Stand With John, I put some notable cases on there, not to say this person was innocent or anything, but I gave you people you was familiar with.
Right.
You see that on the news, but what about the normal guy? What about the normal dad that's going through this? What are the statistics on these false allegations? Are they going through this too? 20.4 million adults, Dwayne, in the United States. That is a lot of people that are going through these allegations. Our system is just completely
broke.
It's broke. It's been broke. Yeah, people get mad when we say broke. It's working the way it was designed. It's broke.
Yeah.
I don't know that it ever worked in the first place.
No, I mean the same things that have been going on for decades, and it's just getting worse. We're letting it happen. And I don't
something that'll piss you off, dude. I just looked at our notes. Did you guys see the memorial at the Rosauers parking lot that the family had made for John? They kept that up for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I never went there until last year. I went up with Robert. We were on our travels in the Northwest visiting visitation centers and custody exchange centers, trying to establish safe custody exchanges. And while we was up in the Northwest, we went to Williston not once, but twice. And I said, Robert, I want to go by there. And so I went with John's dad, and we got to go to the parking lot, dude, and just standing there, it hits in a different way, dude. I seen it so many times on video. You want to hear about something eerie? Now, you ask him about this. This is no lie. Never been there before in my life. I said, I'd like to see John's house. And so Robert starts taking me down the road, and he's trying to remember how to get there. And then we pass down once, and then we come back. And then he said, I think it might be over in that area, Eric. And then I just go down the road and I look and I see it. And I said, that's it. He looked at me. He said, how did you know that? I was like, from seeing the candle in the window. I was like, that's it. I'd never seen the outside.
Right.
And that was it. And so I got to go see that. But when we went back, I went and spent a couple $100, dude. Went and like laminated this poster with John and just put memorial flowers and balloons and stuff. I didn't know it at that time, but I would be back in Williston like a month later. So I got called back. Dude, I've been many trips to Idaho. Yeah, it was torn down.
Yeah. On top, do you remember the call that we took? Oh gosh, it was maybe 6 months ago. It's been a while, where a guy was doing a custody exchange in that same parking lot.
Oh yeah, I've had more than one, dude. I guess that was a place. People think that doing custody exchanges in broad daylight at like public places, well, they're not going to do it here. Bullcrap, guys. Look at the headlines. They're doing it at police stations. That's not a safe place either. That was the whole reason we were up there. I was going to supervise visitation center, saying, hey, it wouldn't be that hard to provide a safe custody exchange where they can drop the kid off and then they can pick them up without parents in contact. There's no money in it.
There you go.
There's no money in it. So it's not for a lack of trying. We get bombarded nonstop. Hey, make this resource. Dude, the effort's been there. It's one thing to say it. It's another to get out there and walk the talk and try to make it happen. 2,700 miles me and John's dad did in 5 days, dude, around the Northwest in a car, up and down. That's when I got really sick from the altitude. It's not there. And when you talk to people about it, they don't see it as such a big thing. Why? Because they're not hearing about it. Most people don't have any idea about any of this until it's affecting them.
Right.
And that's why I say we got to take the power back. We got to become the media. We got to organize. We got to stand with people like John. Not long after John's thing. Now, originally, when I Stand With John came out, I did a little fundraiser. I raised about $5,000, and I said, I want to promote this. Dude, to this day, I have never sold that documentary. I didn't even put ads on it. I didn't want no ad revenue or anything. I didn't want anybody to click off of that video because Gillette pulls up or anything. Here it is. Use it. I want people to see it. But we put out some advertising on it. It broke 1 million views. And dude, that was a proud moment there. But I will get on it one day and it went from like 1.1 million to 2.1 million views. And I was like, what in the world happened? I expected the first half.
Yeah.
There was another custody exchange murder that went down in Missouri that was almost identical to John's. And it was the Justin Goolsby case. And it was going viral. And she was tagging I Stand With John and everything, saying, hey, that's what happened to my husband. A guy that was accused of false allegations. Went through the same things as John, proved his innocence, went to go get his kids one day, met by ex-father-in-law who shot him 4 times. That was the difference. John was shot 3. He got shot 4 with a different gun. It was the only difference. That case was so eerily similar to John. And it wasn't much longer after that. That was the hashtag Just for Justin. It went viral on TikTok. And it was, I didn't even know that was going on. The amount of custody exchange murders we've had since John Mast, the show got really dark for a period. Not that it wasn't dark already.
Right.
When you were talking about the murder of a father, murder of any parent, dude, we got murders of kids that are going on the show.
Yeah.
And it's, I understand that depresses people. I've had people tell me, Eric, I can't watch your show. It depresses me. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But what do you want me to do about it? Do we just say that we're not going to recognize it, that we're not going to talk about it? That's the reason it's got to where it is, Dwayne.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got to, as hard as it is, we got to get people getting involved in this. And I would say you don't have to do much. I Stand With John. That'll get it out there, sharing it, talking about it, keeping his memory alive. When you get to go there and stream, which is a rare special, it's a
rare.
Yeah, very rare. That cameras in the courtroom. I think we all know how difficult that is in our circles to be able to do that for this trial. It's not something you see every day. We need to get people in there watching it. Who knows what could happen? If enough people watch this and share it, maybe larger networks will pick up on it, and maybe it'll get into the normal, Channel 4, Channel 5 type shows, and people will see it and identify with it and make some change. Because the only way we're going to make changes if enough people are aware of it, talk about it, do something about it. That's going to make the legislature, the judiciary, all that. That's what's going to change it. They're not going to change it because they feel bad. They're going to do it.
Popular to talk about.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to shame them into it. That's the sad reality.
It is, and I've tried that too. Between getting celebrities, going to dude, look at how many news outlets I went to, and I went through plenty since then, just trying to get out John's story.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe eventually it's going to end up getting picked up. I don't want to talk too much doom and gloom, guys, because I can tell you now that it's much more of a conversation than it ever was. People are at least starting to push back. It's not the majority, but now when people hear some of these stories, they at least second guess it. When it goes to the silver bullet, that's a different story. That one still holds a lot of weight, man. If you get accused of something like that and just, I made a note. I was telling you about it. One of the conversations that I had with John, his family was so supportive, dude. I mean, even the day that he was killed, he told his family that he was going to be able to get the kids.
Mm-hmm.
His sister and brother both said, we're coming. And he was like, no, guys, I got it. Don't worry about it. I got
to protect him.
He begged him. Don't come. I got this. They went anyway. And if you're not familiar with Idaho, if you live here in the South, it was culture shock when I went up there.
Right.
In between each town's like 4 hours. So I think both of them drove a very big distance, and they went there anyway to support him.
Mm-hmm.
There was times that they all flew down there to be there for his court trial, but he did say, he was like, Eric, my family's been there for me every step of the way. They've helped, but he was like, they don't understand it. So even though I'm surrounded by people, I still feel alone. Those words hit.
Yeah.
And I've tried my best to get into people like, Robert Garza or John. And, when I hear their stories, like, what must that be like? I mean, I have an idea, but I can imagine what it's like for you guys that has been accused of stuff like that. Nobody wants to believe you. Nobody wants to be around you. I hate to say it that way, but that's what it does.
Well, there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, you're untouchable. Now, don't get around that.
Yeah, something's weird. Robert, great guy. 43, I think, was the final number. 43 false allegations that cycle through every time one would get knocked down, then another woman would come, or multiple at the same time. I couldn't even begin to imagine what Robert went through. And my wife and I, we've had dinner. I've talked to this guy. One, I could imagine him hurting a fly. He's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet on the planet. And I don't know how he's standing. You look at these people and you're just like, how are you functioning?
Some people are geared up for it. And, I don't take that in the wrong ways, guys, but some people can fight. And there's just like, like John, every time the blows came, he kept going. I was one of those that I had to pull away from my own sanity. I got to that point where it's like, if I don't do it, I'm going to go nuts. I am literally just going insane. And it wasn't nowhere near what these guys' cases are. You can imagine what these guys go through. Mr. Mike Simmons on here, I know he's been through the silver bullet. He said, we make ourselves not fun to be around most of the time.
Well,
and I'm going to tell you that does hurt the community a lot.
Yeah.
One, it's hard to talk your story to somebody that don't understand what you're going through. And then when you tell it that, they don't want to hear it. I'm not going through it, so I don't want to hear that. We live in a very selfish world, guys. And that's the reason why we got the Dad Talk Today support group. You might not have it there, but you got people that understand, and you need to be talking to people that understand. The more that we do stuff like this, and I appreciate you putting this on here, Mr. Luke Forrest. Thank you for the platform, Eric, for a place our voices and stories can be heard. I've learned how difficult it is, and just wanted to take time to say thank you. Thank you, Dad Talk. Thank you, Luke, for saying that, because it's stuff like this. The more we do these shows, we show these men that feel all alone that they aren't alone. Right. I was a guy that was all alone. I made Dad Talk. I didn't think that many of you were out there. I knew there was some. I didn't know how many of you guys was out there. So when I got into this, it was just, dude, still blowing my mind.
Yeah, I mean, well, we never talked about it. I mean, because most guys suffer in silence. We were like John Mast in that respect, where we're not going to tell people what we're going through. We just there's things we don't normally share. But as this got out there and people started saying, "Oh, this guy's going through it too," he's a resource where I can talk to him. Or when you finally do tell someone, and they either one assume that you're the bad person, or they just don't know what to say. You pull back, and you have all these emotions and all these issues, and you're trying to get through the day. And it's impossible playing. Then of course you have the word vomit. When people start to explain their story, they just blah, and
we know what they do.
I get it. I understand,
dude. I had people. I'm gonna pull back the curtain for a little bit, and hopefully you guys don't hate me for this. This is just being honest. I had some people that if I would go to events and stuff, and people would come up telling me their story, it would get to a point that they would come over and say, "Hey, Eric, let me talk to him for a second," because I would try to take it all in, dude, and I'd feel like I was about to explode because that person might be dealing with their own problems too. That's what I said. The more people that we get involved, the easier it makes it for everybody.
Well, shouldering the load. You got a bunch of shoulders.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can do that. And people can people that have been through this, they can turn around. I mean, to really call kind of Robert out again. He went through the 43 allegations, dealt with all that, spent who knows how, all the stuff, money, time, effort. He then said, you know what? I don't want any other kid to go through what I went through. And he got the time taken back bill, which is going to go into law here in about 2 weeks down here in Texas. And that's something where, I tell some of the folks I deal with, I'm like, turn that pain into purpose. Have your time. I get it. Talk to people, but fight. This is kind of what we're designed to do. Keep fighting. If you can't do it on your case, do it for somebody else. I stand with John. Just because you're lost, or dealing with your own personal case, rally behind that one. This is the time to do it. This is going to get it out for everybody's going to win off of this one, including you.
So how many people that are watching this right now can say they relate, maybe not to everything, but can relate to parts of what John went through? I know I can. You can. I'm sure many of you guys down there can. And that's why I say, man, we don't need all of our stories. If we get one that carries all of our stories, I was okay with it being Johnny Depp. Man, I was sitting back half here and picking shit when that was going on, saying they're talking about it. Yeah, it might be, it's got some of the different details and stuff behind it, but at least we are talking about allegations and showing some of the stuff that can be going on. I don't care where it gets done, as long as it gets done. And that's the reason why these documentaries are being made. This one was my first. It's hard to watch it. I'm proud of making that. Like I said, there's definitely different things I would have done.
Oh yeah.
But, we do with what we have. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do. I would tell you guys, when Mike, you said, we're not fun to be around some of the times. Hell, dude, we're not even fun to be around ourselves at times.
Yeah.
Okay. You haven't seen me on Dad Talk in a while now. Why do you think that is? I had to pull away.
Yeah.
Not because I'm here. I'm standing with John. You better believe these next 2 weeks, I am geared up and ready, dude. But I had to recharge them batteries, Dwayne.
Yeah, the cup can only hold so much.
And I do believe this. I do believe we're going to see justice. I do. I got a good feeling about it.
I hope so.
I do too. I do know, it's not over until the fat lady sings. So hopefully we got a fat lady in here ready to sing before too long. But it's one of those things. This is a silver bullet case. There were some people asking questions. I don't know. I'll just try to go over what I can. That was asking about this. Oh, you did, Dwayne. Why did the case get pushed back?
Yes.
So documentary, it was originally set for March 31st of 2022.
22.
It got set back like 4 or 5 different times. What they were wanting to do was bring in John's character to make it look like, hey, there was motive for doing this. John's dead. How are you gonna pull in the character of somebody that can't be there and defend himself?
Right.
So I think that was something. I think it went up to the Supreme Court and it got pushed back every single time, which makes me think You know, we're talking about the action here of what happened to him that day, not all this other stuff. John went, spent the money. He was at every one of them court dates, and he did everything he could to defend his character. It's not what you're doing here. We're talking about a man that killed him. Okay?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, he did it in broad daylight. But what was the motive behind it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's kind of weird. Yeah, we can say allegedly, but I think all the evidence is there that it happened. Now it's just the degree or whatever. But that's all. We'll let the judge and lawyers figure all that out in time. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones. I mean, everyone has their story, but this is just one of those ones that we need to rally around. The like, share. These are I say there's small things, but these are big things people can do. Like, share, subscribe. Put that tagline in there. Go to the John Mast Foundation. Go to the Facebook page and check out the journal. It is a read, and talk about it. Tell people about this.
I was involved with the foundation, and the family got involved, and I guess they got to see kind of the struggle that we have here.
Yeah.
If you get a lot of followers, people think you got money, you got all this, dude. Every bit of this right here is passion, and I think they have big plans for the foundation, but they got to get some resources coming through. I think most of what came through was from friends and family.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it was just, realization that this is hard. There's not much money. There's not grants behind this. There's grants behind stuff like this, but it's VAWA related. It's not for the family law stuff. Going and trying to influence politicians and legislation. It's a dog and pony show, man.
Yeah.
We got a lot going on here. You know what I think the answer is? Documentaries like you just saw, dude.
Yeah.
The more those go out and the more you get the people going and showing. I mean, right now, I think everybody seeing the country, they're not proud with what's going on. So I think we'll see some change come next election season, hopefully. Well, we will see. And I think the more that it becomes a conversation and put that sunshine on there, that good disinfectant, and show what these attorneys and judges and politicians and everybody that's got their hands in each other's pockets. I get a lot of flack for talking about attorneys, Dwayne.
Just before or after they put on a skit making fun of their clients and everybody. I don't know if we should talk about that or not.
Oh, I mean, yeah, dude, more than welcome. So if you guys haven't seen O'Keefe Media Group, he was part of Project Veritas, was talking about Coons and Fuller down there in Texas. So if you're not familiar with that law firm, that's the law firm that Robert Garza had to fight against. It was the law firm that David Henderson had to fight against. It was the law firm that Jeff Younger, probably the biggest case that we know of inside the movement, had to fight up against. They did a skit where they are dressed up as devils and they're singing Radiohead Creep, but they're talking about charging their clients and how their clients are difficult, but they'll take your money anyway.
Yeah. I'm a cheat. I'm a something. Don't trust me. And then there was, of course, the song parody of WAP, which I won't talk about what the acronym stands for, but there was that one. Yeah. I mean, this is where the law firms are at. And just to throw it out there, they had people defending what they did.
So it's if you talk about attorneys, it's like, well, not all attorneys are bad. If you're talking about moms, well, not all moms are bad. Same way people talk about dads, well, not all dads are bad. You can't disregard the majority because there's a minority that do the right thing. And if there is a minority that do the right thing, we'll praise you. We're glad you're there. If you get mad when we talk about what's going on, that's a red flag for me.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, these attorneys, what they are charging their clients is just absolutely bogus. I was that guy. The reason I'm sitting here, I could not afford the hourly rate. You want $400, $500 an hour? And I don't even know how many hours it's going to take. And then you sit there and tell me, well, if your ex is high conflict, it could go for a while. You think?
Right.
Do I think that you're going to try to make that conflict as little as possible? I don't. I think states like Florida, that kind of made me believe in legislation. I still think they need to do some other stuff, but dads get automatic rights as long as you get a paternity test in Florida now.
Yep.
Badass, dude.
Yeah, they're doing the same thing. I think it's Georgia or Tennessee?
Are they?
So
I hope it's Georgia.
There is a law that's getting knocked around right now. I'd have to find the article I posted on it, that they are going to be requiring DNA tests. I have to find that. It's one of the 50 states. I think I may even sent it to you on a different chat or something. But one of the states, they're going to require DNA tests for paternity. So, I mean, there's a little room there. We got here from Angler Senior.
Same platforms like this are important. Many guys are in similar situations but aren't aware of the support groups, forums that are out there. It's especially difficult when these resources are silenced. One, you got shadow banning, but two, like you said, a lot of people don't know about them. So that's what, when we tell you guys to like, share, subscribe, you guys are the answer, because that's what fights back at it.
Right.
I had just gotten a comment on Instagram. Instagram went from gaining 300,000 new followers in 2 months to where it just crawled, even though we've reached over 80 million in the last 30 days, dude, which is crazy. The shadow banning is definitely real. We know that now. The Twitter files and other things came out that we know certain accounts. And let me tell you something. Not trying to pick either side of the political aisle right now, but I did a lot of political shows, guys. I went to just about every political rally that was happening in that time, and my numbers went from here to here when I would go live. Page is still growing, but nobody's getting the live feed that when it happens. So you got two choices: you can quit or you can keep going. My choice was to keep going, and so for those of you that are getting to see it, I appreciate it. But please help send it to somebody that might need it. I do believe we'll do really good next week when this trial starts kicking.
Everybody should be watching it for a number of reasons. One is to get closure, to support the Mast family, because obviously they'll be tuning in to see how many people are watching, and they certainly could use the support. And of course, getting it if enough people like and sharing and all that with the feed, hopefully another major news that most people would watch will pick it up and show it.
Well, the media is going to be there next week alongside of me. I think there's 2 different news stations, but we're going to I want you to see the whole thing. Yeah,
you'll get the unedited, unfiltered everything that's happening. This is huge for Dad Talk today. I mean, this is the first one.
Huge for John.
And
it is huge for John. Dude, I'll be honest with you. When I filed the paperwork and told the family, I'm like, it's probably a 99% chance this is not happening. It's 1% might be overestimating it. When it came back, and dude,
you're like, what?
I'm going to give some props to Nez Purse, because even though this happened in Idaho, John's family law case did not go down in the Williston area. That went down in Williston, North Dakota, where the judge refused to see the evidence and everything. So even though this trial is going to be taking place in that courthouse, so far I've been down there. I've talked to people there who were super sweet, super nice. Williston, North Dakota was different. I don't know if you saw it in the documentary, but we went to Williston, North Dakota, and we were allowed to go in the courtroom that John did his trial at. And you want to talk about an experience, dude. I went, knocked on the door, wanted to talk to the judge that denied the evidence. He wouldn't talk to me. Why wouldn't he talk to me? I was there. I'm all the way up from Georgia, up in North Dakota, in -30 weather. And I was going to be nice and cordial, and I just wanted to talk to you and find out, why you couldn't see the evidence that day.
Right.
But they wouldn't talk to me.
Yeah, just imagine if you had, billions of followers, people were, letter, ad, whatever, if he just said no and he knew he was going to get in deep tapioca, as my dad used to say, for not doing it. He may have opened that door. That's that whole like, share, subscribe, watch this, be vocal, get involved, rally behind it. Because then when you do those 2,700, or was it 2,700 mile trip, 40, a lot of miles?
That was just 2,700 when I went up to the Northwest. It was over another 2,000 miles when me and Robert went from Spokane to North Dakota, because we had to go through Idaho into Montana for John's funeral, then all the way back over to North Dakota. And dude, then we went back for a rally. I did want to mention that rally.
Oh yeah.
Other than the equal shared parenting rally that went down in Texas, that was the biggest rally I had been around in this cause. We went right in front of the police department and courthouse in Williston and held a rally for John. And there was people standing all the way down the road with, parental alienation, is child abuse signs, I stand with John. And it was a major showing. And I got to say, dude, there was some media out there that did the best media. I got some of the clips that was on the documentary. They gave us permission to do it. And it was really cool to see people actually reporting on it the way it needed to be. But the day before, we had actually went to Boise, Idaho, marched that whole Capitol, drove 4 hours up to Williston, held that rally, left right after that rally, went to Spokane, Washington, flew into Washington, D.C., where we held a rally in Washington, D.C. for John the next day, then went on a 13-state trip within 5 days. So when it comes to driving, dude, I lose track of it, but we've done some stuff.
Miles. Wow.
We put some miles in. And so I've seen it. When I say this isn't just me guessing or saying I've seen it. I've talked to more politicians than you can count, dude. It's going to take a lot, and now if I show up there and like you said, we got millions of people following us and ready to back us on these things, we've become a force.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can happen. It's probably the reason why we get shadow banned.
Right. Yeah. Honestly. Well, yeah, if you're streaming it and which you had to spend quite a bit of money to make sure that there's going to be no technical issues when you're in the courthouse. We all know how that goes. But yeah, they see 10,000 people watching, 1 million people, whatever. It's going to get picked up by the quote major mainline, mainstream, whatever media, and get into people's homes.
I need, I guess, I don't. One of the reasons I've been, not as vocal. We need resources to pull some of this off. I got the stuff ready to go, dude. I mean, we could blow this stuff up, and it would go crazy. But let me get back to some of these.
Yeah, I see Mike Simmons is asking a couple of questions here that, I probably want to address about jury selection and the expectations of trial length, things like that.
So I know the jury is saying, we just had a guest pull up down.
Oh.
I'll bring him in just a second. But I do know Monday is when it starts. That's when they will be picking out the jury. So I don't think we'll be doing any live streaming that day. So Tuesday should be when we're ready to rock and roll. And also, the family has said that if there's any family or friends or anybody watching the show that would like to show up in person to support, again, that's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if it goes the next week, Monday, Tuesday, that you're more than welcome to show up. Keep in mind, this is a jury trial, guys. So stay.
Use some common sense.
No I stand with Johns or anything there. I know that I understand if somebody would get upset when we say that, but I'm doing what was asked. So we're going to be there. We're going to report on it and try to stay in the background as much as possible so we can bring you that full trial. But if you would like to show up, Nez Perce County Courthouse, would love to have you there. The Mast family has invited all of you. I know most of you aren't going to be able to go to Idaho. Probably going to be at work.
Not on my bucket list.
Court and paying them attorneys. So we're going to make sure that you have it accessible. I've had people asking about the links. I have new equipment that I got to try out on Monday. And until I hook that equipment up, I don't have a link. As soon as I can get it, I promise you it's going to be out there. Just do me a favor. When it does hit, share it with everybody, because it won't get out there if you don't do that for me. Okay.
Can we talk a little trash about our guest getting ready to come in? I don't know. Because he's not on yet. He can't defend himself, or we got more questions?
One more thing I was going to bring up, and because I know this will upset people, and I know probably, when John was talking and we were talking about COVID and everything, dude, there's videos of John letting his kids open up a Christmas gift, the next year after he saw them. It was like, mommy said you didn't get any gifts. He was like, I bought you gifts. They sent them back to me.
Yeah.
How many people have sent Christmas gifts that get sent back, or birthdays, and those kids are sitting there thinking, Daddy don't love me.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Let me pull up this layout so we can get this. guy on. Mr. Jimmy.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you?
What's up?
What's going on?
Big Show there,
man. Listen, I had to get a part of this. I'm sitting at work, probably maybe 2 hours ago. I get this notification on my phone. I pick up my phone and I see that Dad Talk today went live, and I'm looking at what you guys are talking about, and I realize you guys are talking about this John Mast story, and I asked one of the guys that I was working with if they had heard anything about it, and there was actually someone that I work with. I'll leave him nameless, but he had said, "Isn't that the guy that was trying to get with his kids and something happened with the ex, whatever, shooting or things like that?" And I tell you, this story is kind of getting out there a little bit, and people are starting to kind of take notice, and they may not know the entire story. So I'm really glad that you guys are talking about this, because when you look up John Mast, it's a little conflicted depending on what article you're looking at. There's some articles that support what he's been saying and present him as a man who's trying to be the best father that he can. And there might be a couple articles out there that paint him in a different light. And it's nice to see that the real story is getting out there, because from what I know of it, and I don't know a whole lot of it, but from what I know, this is a perfect example of what Eric has always called parental alienation.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And you're looking at a silver bullet trial here where John was accused of molesting his children. And when that happens, and was accused of physical violence, people are very quick to rush to support the kids. And I know why, dude. I was that way.
Yeah.
If I heard somebody mess with a kid, I was instantly like, protect the kids, protect the kids. That's why an accusation of that magnitude is so deadly. And the fact that somebody can make an accusation like that, and if you prove that you were innocent and they were lying, and there's no consequence for that,
yeah,
kidding.
And what I've noticed over the last 15 years, especially probably the last 25 years, is there is a understanding amongst the culture in America and probably the world that men are not supposed to put their hands on women. We're supposed to provide for women. We're supposed to protect women. And I don't think that any of us disagree with any of that, right?
Nope.
The challenge comes to that small percentage of women out there who use these things as ammo to support some sort of narrative, or in some cases, just downright breaking the law. And there have been times that I've seen personally, I have not went through it, but I mean, I know of a friend who has gone through it, where him and a woman will have relations with each other. And there has been times where she has changed her mind. Hey, I shouldn't have done that. One night deal kind of a thing. And she goes and says, well, he did X, Y, and Z. Yep. And the cops have, I'll tell you this story. I had a friend. I'll share a little bit more because I'm being vague. I had a friend who's a bartender, good looking dude, good with the ladies. He's a bartender. No, it wasn't Dwayne. It wasn't Dwayne, but Dwayne would fit this narrative though. It would. And so my buddy, he's behind the bar. He's a ladies' man, and he's got, these girls coming up to him because he's the guy behind the bar. Long story short, he and this one girl that he had just met that night decided to kind of get it on, and they got it on at the club that he was at in one of the rooms. Like, no lie, right? I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that two consenting adults decided that they were going to get it on, whatever. And he goes back to work. It's probably about 3:30 in the morning, about an hour after that club has closed, because in that state, the clubs would close at 2 a.m. The cops come in and want to speak to my friend. He pulls him to the side, and the cops say to him, well, this X, Y, and Z lady had said that you had done something against her consent. And we'll call it grape because we don't want to get banned, right? So he's like, absolutely not. He's dumbfounded. This guy would have never done something like this, right? And so they handcuff him. They take him downtown. He's at the police station. He has to give his statement. She, of course, is in a different room, gives her statement, and they're conflicting. They do not match up. What she says happened and what he says happened, two polar opposites. He says to the police officers, well, let me make a phone call, because my understanding is that the supply room, the storage room, is under surveillance, video surveillance. So the cops allow him to make the phone call. And by the way, there is a specialized officer that came to speak with him, not a regular police officer, some sort of abuse investigator, if you will, right? And it was a female. And he said that right when she walked in, he could feel the vibes. He was already guilty. Yeah. Everyone had already had just known that he had done this awful thing that he was being accused of. And he went through hours and hours, I believe about 2 or 3 hours. It was probably 5, 6, 7 in the morning at this point. And he says to the police officers after he was kind of pondering it over, because they come in, they ask questions, they leave. He sits down, he goes, oh my God, my life is ruined now. I got this accusation against me. They come back and they ask the same exact questions in a different way. His story remains the same, but hers had changed a couple times. So he says to them, hey, I believe that's under surveillance. He reaches out to his boss. His boss goes, what is going on? Because he knows he got taken away in handcuffs. He says, hey, boss, isn't that storage room? Don't you have a camera in there? He goes, yeah, we do. Well, that's where it happened. So the cops go and they get their hands on the film. And what do you know? What do you know? Completely consensual, completely innocent, completely legal. There's nothing that lady had said to the police officers, nothing in that report that she filed was true at all. And they go back to the room where that woman was that did this report and says, we've got the video surveillance of it. We saw what happened. And you tell us right now what's the truth is, or you're going to go to jail. And she came out and eventually admitted that she had a couple of drinks. She thought he was hot. Yes, he didn't do what I said he did. Yes, he didn't say what I said he did. And I feel really bad because I feel like a 304. You guys know what a 304 is, right? HOE, right? So she admitted it. Now, in my opinion, I'll just speak for myself. If you file a false police report and then you come out, or you are found that you come out and it's completely wrong, there should be some sort of criminal charges. Do you think there was? Oh, absolutely not. They allowed him to go his way and she was able to go her way. And that was the end of it, guys. That was the end of it.
Bull.
It's absolute a crock of you know what. And it needs to stop, because not all, but there is a portion of females out there who know that it is awful for a man to strike a woman, awful for a man to do something to an underage child. We're all in agreement of that. I personally feel that if an adult, man or woman, does anything to a child or an animal, you are on a different level of evil, in my opinion, because animals and children are the most vulnerable things that I can think of in this world, where they just trust you and they love you and they just want to be loved and they just want to love you back. And if you were to do something awful to those animals or children, damn you to hell, in my opinion, right? If a man is accused of what John Mast was accused of, which is touching his children in a wrong way. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
And my understanding of this trial case is that he obviously denied the allegations. There was never any charges that got brought up. He was never charged of anything. It was just an investigation. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. And my understanding is that he went through a polygraph test and passed with flying colors.
And psychosexual. Right. Yeah, there was 2 different tests. Absolutely. Passed them on flying colors.
And I cannot say for sure whether he did or whether he didn't. I'm not here to judge. I don't know the man. I don't know. But I will say this. We all have had and heard stories similar to this where a man's been accused. And to Eric's point, right? When a woman places that kind of stain on the reputation of a man, whether it's children or whether it's an adult woman, in the sense of doing something unconsensual, despite that allegation being false, he's proven innocent in a guilty law. Despite any of that, that man is ruined for the rest of his life. The rest of his life. And we've seen college kids that's happened to, and they lost their scholarships and they've never been able to get another scholarship again. We've seen people in the workforce where that's happened to. He gets arrested at work. The company fires him. And he was innocent to begin with. Do you think he gets his job back? Of course he doesn't. He has to go on down the road and find another job, all because of this. Because of this right here. So in our cancel culture world that we live in today, just the mere accusation of a female to a male can oftentimes lead to a complete black eye, metaphorical black eye on the reputation of a man out there. And Mr. Mast is not only a victim of that, in my understanding, but also she more than likely, can't say for sure, don't know her, but more than likely manipulated the ex that shot John into believing some sort of chaos. She probably filled his head with, hey, you're doing a good thing by eliminating John because you're taking one person, one piece of filth off of this world. And when you look at some of the comments of these ignorant people who don't know the story, that's what they're writing in the comment section. They're saying, hey, he deserved it. Hey, that's vigilante justice here. And when the truth comes out and John is proven innocent, will these people ever go back and erase those comments?
He's already been proved innocent, but it was the ex-father-in-law, not an ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
But yeah, he had already proved his innocence, was exonerated, which is why he was getting to see his kids.
Sure.
It was
after a year or two.
You're not going to see him. John had made the comment that this could happen. And I think he knew that this was a very real possibility of this happening. And for these parents that have this notion that they could lose their life just showing up to get their kids, that should be such an innocent time, guys. I'm showing up to get my kids. But that shows you just how corrupt and divisive family law has become.
Yeah.
And they know that. They encourage people to have conflict. They encourage high conflict and mudslinging. When you go in family court, you're not there to pay compliment to each other. You're there to completely slag down the other side and question their credibility so that you look like the better person.
Yeah,
and
all
that
for
does
billable
not
hours.
encourage co-parenting one bit whatsoever. And I think a lot of this conflict starts way before getting into the family courts because they know that's what's going to happen when they get in the family courts.
That's right.
I'm going to try to put this person down to prop myself up.
Mm-hmm.
But as you saw in the documentary, several people said it. John never talked bad about her. That was never his angle. It was never to put her down. I'm going to tell you, I'd have some choice words if somebody was doing
Sure.
that.
And I think most of us would. Yeah, I think most of us would. And he took the high road even when the high road wasn't taken for him.
And dude. It's just sad all the way around. But guys, I think we're probably about to wrap this up. Jimmy, do you know what your conversation is going to be about tomorrow? What's tomorrow's show?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I haven't posted it yet. I was going to work on that right now, to be honest. I've got a few things in mind, but I like to keep Dwayne in suspense. That's what I like to do. So, how do
you keep a dork in suspense?
I'll
tell you later.
In my defense, I would have had this task already done, gentlemen, if it wasn't for both of you guys. Okay, this right here was purchased by Eric Carroll right here.
That's a badass controller, bro.
Okay, and I have been the victim of Call of Duty alienation. Okay, because I got all my boys on this video game. I've never played this game before in my entire life. And I get on there and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea that Eric was like level 300 and I'm at level
400.
400, and so I get on there and I can't let these guys beat me, but they are wiping the floor with me. I am getting killed by zombies left and right, begging for them to come and revive my dead character 17 times.
I gotta call BS. I mean, okay, Jimmy's got that. Oh, I'm like big and I'm tough. Okay, he didn't have the controller. He was playing with his keyboard. And Eric, you keep me honest here. He was owning the game. He was doing no, sir, you're doing awesome with a mouse and keyboard. There is no way. I'm over here like doing dying every 2 seconds, and he's over there with the mouse doing some Neo Matrix thing. I don't know what the hell he was doing.
I was just pounding on the keys, and it's winning my favor. But now I've got. I mean, this is like, look how much cooler mine is compared to Dwayne's.
That is, yeah.
I got the skulls on there. Look at Dwayne. That's how boring that is. Man, you got to get in the game, buddy.
I got to.
Oh man.
One of us went down more times than the fat kid in dodgeball. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I might have to hit it even tonight, dude. See, that just lets you know. In between Dad Talk shows, I've been fighting to keep the world safe
from zombies.
I did, yeah, absolutely.
So everyone listening to this right now, you should be thanking the three of us for keeping the world safe of these zombies. We are eradicating them.
That's it.
While you are at sleep with your family, nestled in tight, the three of us are out there fighting the world, eradicating them of zombies with like 4 horns, and then we fought one with like this big blue guy last night.
And it probably was while you was asleep because it's been going pretty late.
That's true. That's true. And here's the worst part about it too. Here's the worst part about it. You're so wrapped up in this game, right? And you have to like build up your character, and you have to go through like 4 different levels to get to this main guy and all these things. Eric knows exactly what buttons to push and what things to grab. Dwayne and I are just running around just trying to shoot zombies to keep them off Eric's doing all the important stuff. Then after like 2 hours and 30 minutes, you finally make it to this boss, the end character. And then what happens? Eric's damn internet goes out because he lives out in the podunk hills of Georgia somewhere, and he's the it's not called leader. What do you call
It's the party host.
The party host.
It's not my internet. That's maybe happened a few times. It's the Call of Duty servers, man.
Oh, it's the servers. Is that what it is?
It is. I promise.
Because I remember the other day there was a terrible storm that went through your neighborhood, and
that was the power went out.
The power went out.
Look, I've been streaming the show for
God smite these.
Yeah.
And so last night we're on this game. We're like 2 hours in, and then something happens where the server went down, and we're all kicked out. So we're all like, So then we're on a group chat. We're like, all right, I'm back in the lobby. Let's do this all over again. And we get down there. We spend all this time. We fight the boss just for the boss to wipe the floor with us. We all die, and then at the end, we're just like, oh, my goodness. Oh, man. And then what does Dwayne say? Dwayne's like, all right, well, let's do it again. And Eric's like, it's like 1:30 in the morning, my time. So that's 12:30 your guys' time. And Dwayne's like, hold on. Let me look. Damn, it is 12:30 at night. Yes. Yes.
I keep wanting to do a live stream of Call of Duty. I just wonder who else would like to see something like that.
We did it one time. And I mean, for anybody, some people don't believe in video games. I tell you, there is nothing better. If you're going through all this stuff, if you need to get it off your mind, get in there and you got 100 zombies coming at you, it'll get your mind off of it.
You know, I mean, I don't have the scientific proof to back what you said, but I know it's true. And let me give you guys an example, right? So I know that women don't like sometimes when the guys play video games, but you know, it's a known fact that men like our alone time, right?
Yeah.
Some guys go and they read. Some guys go and watch a little bit of TV. Some guys just surround themselves in sports, and some guys play video games. Years ago, I would say probably 15, 20 years ago, for those of you who don't know, I've been in the fitness industry for maybe 24 years or so. And about 20 years, 15 years ago, there was this device called a body bug, and you put it on your bicep, it Velcroed on. Now it's probably on your phone, but back then you had to wear it 24 hours a day. And what it did was it tracked all the calories that you expended, right? Because the challenge with diets is let's say that I have Dwayne on a 2,500 calorie diet, and that works. Well, Dwayne's on a 6,500 calorie diet, but if he was on a 2,500 calorie diet, the thing about the food intake is that we're always eating the same amount of calories, or we try to, but the calorie energy expenditure changes, because if you worked out that day, you might burn enough, but if you didn't work out that day, 2,500 might be a little bit too much. So knowing how many calories you burn is a good thing. I say all that to say this. It tracks it 24 hours. So I can see whenever I go to sleep, because the calories go down. And then I can see when I wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom, it spikes up a little bit. That's where I went pee, and I went back to bed and and I can see I got, 8 hours of sleep or 7 hours of sleep. I was gaming a little bit more than normal back then. And I used to, no lie, I used to burn less calories per minute playing video games than I did when I was asleep. It was like 1.5 calories when I was sleeping, 1.3 or 1.2 when I was playing video games. That proves how calm or how calming that video games are for some guys, despite the fact we're killing zombies. And I think, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I think that you combine the fact that you're doing some alone time with the fact that men biologically love to accomplish things, right? We like to build this, we like to do that. And you can do both those things at the same time. Now, You got to do it in moderation. Fair enough. You got to make sure you don't neglect the children and the wife. Fair enough. But if you guys are doing it in moderation, I think it's a great way of sharpening the saw, a great way of getting guys together like we do, because women are a little more social than guys, right? And they get together in person. But the fact is guys don't do that as often as they should. And to have a good network of men, like-minded men that are looking to accomplish and, you know, go after the world is a good thing. Not to mention also, who the heck do we have to talk about some of these bad things? Eric and Dwayne have talked about tough things. Eric and I, you know, for a lot of you guys out there listening to this show, let me share something about Eric real fast for you guys. Okay. I've known Eric for a little bit now. And Eric puts his heart and soul into Dad Talk Today, and he does not get the credit that I think he deserves. And one of the things that I noticed whenever Eric and I first became friends was how immersed he was. He's trying to build this platform. He's trying to get, you know, these stories out. And I thought to myself, that sounds good. I love all that. But to what extent is that happening? And I talked to Eric, and I realized that the stories that he puts out there, it's not all rainbows and sunshines. As a matter of fact, a lot of them are doom and gloom kind of stories that need to be told that no one else is telling. But think about how it would be to be a surgeon or a police officer. You're always having to deal with death as a surgeon. You're always having to deal with the bottom 10% of society. Everyone's always lying to you, and you become jaded after that. As a police officer, I would imagine that you probably think everyone lies to you, and you probably think everyone's breaking the law because all you see all day are people lying to you and breaking the law. Well, how does that parlay into Dad Talk Today? It's only logical that a guy like Eric or whoever else does these platforms are saying all the doom and gloom, that it starts to affect you up here, and you have to let this stuff brush off your shoulder. And how the heck do you do that, especially when Eric knows John Mast personally? John was one of the guys who used to comment, and Eric, to my understanding, had spoken with him a few times on the phone. He knew the guy. You know, that would be like if something awful happened to me or Dwayne. It's like, oh my God, I just talked to Jimmy just yesterday. And so, Eric, for what it's worth, man, I just want to let you know, on behalf of Dwayne, on behalf of myself, on behalf of the hundreds of thousands of listeners that you have on your platform, thank you so much, man. Honestly, thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for doing the tough jobs that a lot of people should, but they don't do. And keep fighting the fight. We are here to support you. We are here to love you. And we're here to talk with you if you need anything. Guys out there struggling, guys out there that are trying to be on your purpose, on your grind, that have these ladies who have done you wrong, look, you're not alone. These stories can help you feel a little more secure that you're not the only one going through it. And guys, I'm no different. It was just two days ago, guys, that we talked about my issue that was going on, right? It was just a couple days ago, and I've been holding that for a couple weeks. And you know, I had mentioned to Dwayne after the show one day, I said, "Hey, man, I got to tell you a story. I need your advice, buddy. I just need someone to either listen or just give me some advice." And then when we were all together on this video game thing before we had got started, Eric was like, "Shit, let's talk about it now." And I was like, "Nah, forget it," because I don't want to be a crybaby. That's how I felt. Forget it. I'll deal with it. And these guys insisted on knowing what it was. And it ended up being a good 15, 20-minute story. I felt better when it was done. These guys gave me some great advice. And although the thing I'm going through is not finalized, I'm not through it, I'm still in the hurricane, if you will, it feels better knowing that I was able to get it off my shoulder and share it with guys that are like-minded. And I know that if I ever need something, these two guys here would be there to listen to me, and I hope they would know I would do the same thing. So if you're listening out there and you're a regular listener of the Dad Talk Today shows, we appreciate your comments, we appreciate your likes and your sharing and your subscribing. We do. But please make sure that you wrap yourself up into some sort of group where you can get a little team of guys. Find other men that you can bounce your ideas off of, that you can share your thoughts, whether they're good thoughts or bad thoughts, because guys out here, they're extremely lonely. You don't know loneliness until you are a man. And
that's true.
You know, women love attention, and we all know that. But I tell you what, women don't understand what it is to be alone. These guys out here true, unbridled loneliness. Some guys don't get any matches on dating profiles. Some guys don't get any first dates. Some guys are just praying to God and thanking God that they just have the strength to wake up and just do one more day.
Yeah.
Some of these guys out there are just wondering how they're going to push through tomorrow, wondering how they're going to pay their rent, wondering how they're ever going to rebuild a relationship with their kids when their wife is trying to keep them from them. Guys, you need to make sure you're not doing this alone, because other guys are going through this. And this story about John Mast is an awful story that is far worse than a lot of our stories, because the man's not here anymore. But let's not let John Mast's legacy be in vain. If this story helps any of you guys advocate for men, or even if it doesn't, and it just helps you guys push through another day, then John Mast is not going to ever be forgotten. So thank you guys for all that you do. Eric, thank you for all that you do. Dwayne, thank you for all that you do. And, you guys just keep pushing through, man. It just every day tell yourself, I just need to get through one more day, just one more day.
That's it, man. I'm going to tell you, I'm ready to kill some zombies now.
Are you? Listen, I am too, but I have a podcast to do tomorrow at 6 Central, 7 Eastern on the Dad Talk Today. Dwayne and I are going to be doing the Big Show podcast. It happens every Sunday at 6 Central. And I don't know what I'm going to talk about tomorrow. I have no idea.
See, that was a good way to sneak in the promo.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah.
Maybe tonight we kill some zombies and come up with an idea.
I mean, dude, it's been our outlet. It doesn't matter what outlet, as long as you get an outlet to talk to other men and say, hey, this is what's going on. Yeah. That's not always easy for us.
Yeah, it's not.
But like you said, feels better when you do. And, you got people that have your back. Yeah. And I can promise you here at Dad Talk Today, we got your back.
Yeah.
The next couple of weeks, we need you to have our back as we travel across the country and make sure that we bring light to John's story, man. There's a lot of efforts going into that, guys, and a lot of people traveling. So Tuesday, I will be back. We'll have that going. Make sure to tune into Jimmy tomorrow night. I will be back sometime on Monday to give you the details and the links, and looking forward to what we got coming up next week, guys.
Yeah, man.
All right,
Good
fella.
luck to you.
Well, if you get ready to kill the undead, you know where to find me. Hey, everybody. Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you